they get that from? Let's say it again. Girl, I will support you. Hallelujah.
All right. And gentlemen, I'm only going to say one thing. We agree.
Yes.
Yes? Gentlemen, we agree. Thank you very much.
All right, let's kick things off now the proper way with a word of prayer. And to take us further with that, I'm going to call on Njideka Esomeju to come up and lead us in prayer. A round of applause, please, as she comes.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the W Initiative. My name is Njideka Esomeju. May we rise in prayer. In Jesus' name we pray. Lord, we thank you for today. We thank you for this gathering, for this very awesome gathering of women and men, women most especially. We thank you for the W Initiative. We thank you for we're going to take a lot out of this summit. We're going to network. We're going to help our businesses grow. We thank you for Access Bank for organizing this summit. We thank you for each and every person here. We bless your holy name because we know that today is going to be an awesome day. In Jesus' name we pray. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, so at this point now, to go ahead and kick off with the opening remarks, I would like to call on the head of Women Banking to please come up to give the opening remarks on behalf of Access Bank. The coordinator for Women Banking, and that's going to be Iona Aguela-Trimnell, to just please give us some brief remarks so that we can officially kick off. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for her. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. I would like to welcome you to probably the largest conference on women in Africa, and if it's not, in Nigeria. I'll tell you something. We initially planned to do a conference for between 500 and 750 women. You're not going to believe it. By the second week, we had registered 5,000 women. And the most amazing thing is that for the first time, I realized that we're taking ourselves seriously. Women are taking themselves seriously. We pay bills. We pay school fees. Some of us pay mortgage. We buy our own car. Some of us look after our parents, brothers, sisters, cousins, and husbands. So it's about time we take ourselves seriously, ladies. And I am standing here because I truly believe that Access Bank is taking us seriously. Banks have to hear us. Because before a woman goes in, you need collateral. Who is your husband? Who is your father? Who is your boyfriend? But banks have to take us seriously. We're 50% of the population. We're 50% of their customers. They have to take us seriously. So in planning today, we wanted to be a one-stop shop. It's a full day. It is full. You know what we thought about? If you want young women who want to register a company, we invited CAC. We thought with all these tax issues right now that's happening, they need to, we brought FRIS. We even thought about insurance. Now we have to pay our insurance. Gone are the days where you're just doing third party. You have to insure your home. You have to have life insurance. You have to have educational insurance. So guess what we did? We invited our partner company, WAPIC. Then we said, all work and no play. So we invited Hereward. You know Hereward? So we have a nice skit, a 10-minute skit from Hereward. And so that's in the middle of the day. And then finally, we said we want to have a party. So if you stay long enough and your belly is full, we have some serious DJ and a guest artist. But before we start, there's somebody I need you to meet. Now, this person is a man's man in every sense of the word. And I say that as a matured woman. But he's a champion of women. And you know what he did? He gave us carte blanche. He said, whatever you need to bring these women and make sure you answer their questions, just do it. We even have at least 60 relationship managers, heads of departments, head of business, head of retail, all sorts of heads, and most of them are women. Any question you have, whether it's about opening an account, a loan, maternal health, reproductive health, if anybody wearing this t-shirt should respond to you before you leave this hall. But I want to introduce to you somebody who I have a great respect for, somebody that made today possible and brought me to this bank, Mr. Herbert Wigwe.
Honestly, we're going to have great fun today. As I listened to Ayona talking about people who don't take women seriously, and I just said, I think the world has moved on from there. Definitely. On Monday morning, no, in the evening, we're in The Hague. Roosevelt, a couple of my colleagues, with the CEO of an institution called FMO, which is the Dutch equivalent of the IFC. And while having drinks, I told the gentleman, I said, you know, we pay a lot of attention to women and the gender empowerment program. And I said, you know why we do it? Because when I look at our educational system in Nigeria, and I look at all girls schools compared to all boys schools or co-ed schools, the all girls schools always bring out the best students. He then corrected me. He said, no, it's not only a Nigerian issue. That even in Holland and in the US is the same phenomenon. And I said, why is it like that? He said, look, let us be frank amongst men here. That our own development in a specific part of the brain is such that it does not happen until much later. I mean, I didn't know that that was medically correct. So it is so, so true. So for people not to have been taking that gender, which is known to have developed a lot faster than the other, I think we must have been making a big mistake here on earth. And anybody or any institution that does not pay attention to the female gender must be doing something wrong. Go to Israel, for instance, where you have defense at its best. Who are the people in that industry? Women, definitely. Now, if you go to, forget the likes of people like Muammar Gaddafi, who were so security conscious, anything that is intuitive, the first thing you do is to give it to women. Definitely. When you talk about being loyal, honestly, not to say anything about my fellow men, I think the best place to go to is just look for a woman you can trust. And there are several. But it's a great day for celebration. There was this French woman, a fashion designer, very successful French woman in her own time. Her name was Coco Chanel. And she said that the most courageous thing is to think for yourself aloud. She died in 1971. So you can imagine, even up until then, it looked like a great thing. So while that must have seen or must have appeared to be a rare declaration by Coco in her time, in 2019, women are fundamentally different. They are saying to the world, this is what I want, this is what I need, and this is what I need you to do to support me. And it is a big difference, very big difference. All over the world, women are breaking new grounds. They are saying no where no needs to be said, and they are basically taking the charge where they need to take the charge. And they're doing this in all fields, in business, in politics, in several things. I mean, if you want to talk about a balanced country in the world, you would call Germany, I believe, yes? Who is the leader there? A woman. And she is so balanced. Even when you see, in spite of all the things happening in the UK, it's a woman. So there's a lot happening in the field of politics. So much also happening in business, in our own world out here. And we can go back in time. The likes of Kufuruji Olubi, even Her Royal Highness, who is here today with us, Chief Mrs. Okoji, she's here. Several women have done great things in business, locally and internationally. And even in terms of lending their voice to Malala Yousufzai, all right? Most of you may probably know her. This voiceless girls to go and have a good education. Guess what? She was shot by Taliban. And what did she say? She said, I don't want to be known for being shot down. I want to be remembered for standing up. That is what women should be all about. It's a great thing. I can go on and on, but there are several of the women in this room today who, through hard work, great talent, stealth, shared talent, have built solid businesses, great brands that will transform our continent. I was speaking to a friend of mine from South Africa yesterday. Where is Audrey? She's here. I think she's one of the guest panelists, yes? Audrey, I think you need to stand up to be recognized. She's doing great things as far as digital is concerned. We have somebody in the fashion industry, Folake, Tiffany Amber. Everywhere I go, they ask me, do you know that lady? I think you need to stand up to be recognized, even though everybody knows you. Several women in business. Monishoni Barre, I don't know if she's here. I just want to give 2 examples of other great women who've done great things. Moni started IO Furniture in 1987 from next to nothing. Today, she's built a multi-billion naira business. Strong, a woman. It's not as if there was a man holding her or supporting her. She built it by herself. Is Mrs. Ogunlesi here? She was here with us yesterday. One of my favorite people who set up Rough and Tumble and made us to stop buying clothes overseas for our children when we can buy it cheaper and of the same quality out here. She has also built a great brand. Several of these women. And for us at Access Bank, we're extremely proud to have been able to support all of these women. Claire Omashaye out in healthcare. I think most people know Claire. Claire, you need to stand up to be recognized. We are so happy to have been able to support all of these great female leaders to create, develop, and grow their respective businesses. All these women have contributed to several thousands of people having employment in our country. And I'm just talking about a couple. If we go more and more and more in the oil sector and all, you will see it in the tens of thousands. So the story of women as change agents is one that we all know of and continues to be compelling and exciting. Women have done several other things. Big changes, like I said, in politics, economic development, and social change. But even in a family, stood against all odds and have trickled down positively to all families and communities across the world. You know, some of us men think that we have control of the family. I'm not sure that that statement is truly accurate. You may have control financially, and I use the word may just in case you do, but most times, the custodian of children, the family rooted in a woman. But let me again say that I feel extremely happy and have absolute pleasure to welcome you all warmly. And I'm talking of a few thousand women here today who are doing great things, empowered women, and achieving wonderful things for Africa and the world. And I think I am extremely lucky for the few men who are present here, whether it's Bolaji, Uzoma, Roosevelt. I think we're in the minority, but we don't care. We're going to have a great time with all of you today. In commemoration of International Women's Day for 2019, we're here to celebrate, to share our thoughts and our experiences, and we're here to make more plans for a much more important change. And our theme is balance for better. And today at Access Bank, as we do always, we celebrate women and the changes that you all have brought and are bringing to the world. We have gathered here today in this room to continue the global movement of women thinking aloud in relentless pursuit of balance, of opportunity, and of prosperity. You are women who are intentional about your lives and have decided to make a difference. And you're all making great and important contributions to different sectors of our economy. Many of you are using technology, and we're going to speak about that in a little while. And many of you are leveraging the many opportunities provided by financial institutions like Access Bank. Speaking about technology, for those women who are busy struggling to find their feet in what they want to do, I think it's an important sector to look at, and I'll speak to it a bit later. Not just Nigeria or Africa, the world. And it's important, if you have not developed those skills, that you actually spend time and develop those skills, because you just might be walking into another opportunity area. But let me speak to Access Bank and how we have recognized and supported women in the past, and what our contributions in the future are likely to be. In 2006, we partnered with the IFC on what we called the first gender empowerment program. Let me just refer to it as that. And the whole idea was to support different levels of women. And I recall at that time, we had set for ourselves a target of creating 50 female billionaires. I'm talking of women whose turnover was 0, and we took them from 1 naira to 1 billion naira. Access Bank were one of the very first African banks to basically think of how to support women. And 5 years after, we went through the scorecard with IFC, and it was 80% achieved. We have been able to develop at least 40 women. We took it yet to another level, and we said, sometimes it has to do with little things like capacity building. Just teaching them a bit more about accounting, providing free financial advisory service, and of course, tailor-made loans depending on what they do. You find several creative people, and women are more in that category, who know exactly what to do, but managing their accounts can sometimes be a big challenge. What we then did was support most of these women and create the various programs to help develop them. But for me, the most important of it all was also supporting women who had done well on things that had to do with succession for their businesses. So you see a woman has run and created a big business, and you ask her, what happens if anything happens to you? And she says, well, she'll leave it for her children, that they are the shareholders, etc. That type of thinking is almost 100 years old. We had to sit down with some of them, teach them basic things around corporate governance, teach them issues around succession planning, and now we're beginning to see several of them get better and better and better. But in 2014, we launched the W Initiative, which is led by Women for Women. And W basically is home for everything that Access Bank has to support women. And with W, we play a pivotal role in the empowerment of women, not just economically, but in terms of their general well-being as well. Things that have to do with maternal health care, things that have to do with completing families, which can come from either way, whether it's your husband or yourself. We basically devoted all the resources required to support women. And all of these platforms are only designed to achieve 3 things: to inspire women, to connect women, and to empower women. Because we believe that once you get that right, the basis for economic growth is properly set. But I'll share with you a bit more. As most of you would know, Access Bank has remained at the forefront of gender empowerment, and closely followed by a very interesting digital bank or retail bank that had a very strong digital focus called Diamond Bank. We have chosen to merge, and what that merger has done is that we've shut down the gates to supporting women completely. And I'm talking of all segments of women. Any woman, honestly, who doesn't bank in this enlarged institution is doing a disservice to herself. I don't want to say if you don't bank here, put up your hands, because nobody will. But honestly, just solve the problem by opening your account with us. That is the only thing you need to do. But this conference has the potential to help achieve several outcomes for women in the continent. And we're doing this not just in Nigeria, but we're doing it in Ghana, in Rwanda, in Zambia, in Congo, and many, many, many more countries where we have a presence. So I invite all of you today to think out loud and engage in lively discussions as we strive to make more improvements for women. There's a very strong American lady, Anne-Marie Slaughter, who said that only when women wield power in significant numbers will we create a society that genuinely works for all women. And that will be a society that works for everyone. Surely must be. But before I leave, I'm going to share just a little statistic with you to basically guide you in the thought process as we begin to talk more about supporting women. I spoke about ICT. 90% of all future jobs will require ICT skills. And today, to have ICT skills or to basically push whatever you're doing in the field of innovation, all right, you basically have to participate in things that have to do with whether it's, an accelerator program and all of that. In all the innovation hubs that we've seen globally, what we've seen is that there's less than 10% participation by women. Now, that statistic is a global statistic. So you can imagine how skewed it will be when it comes to Africa. Perhaps you won't have more than 2% of African women participating in all of these innovation hubs. Yet, 7% again of all venture capital have funded startups led by women. I'm trying to share with you the poor statistics of how women have participated as far as ICT and digital is concerned. But where is money going in the future? It's going to support people who are in this sector. What am I trying to say? It represents an opportunity for all of you. For those who have not looked in that space, I think it is a space worth looking at. And for those who are running other businesses, I think you need to look at the digital implications of what you are doing, because that is where real big capital is basically going in the future. I'm extremely excited to welcome you all to today's event, and please enjoy yourselves. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, could you please give Dr. Herbert Wigwe a round of applause once again? A truly inspiring speech and welcome address. And please, we would just like to ask, as you guys are taking pictures, if you happen to get a picture with Dr. Herbert as well, as you engage with each other, please post it on social media and make sure you do it by tagging Access Bank and also using the following hashtags, the W community and also celebrating women. And the reasons why is because we want to let the entire world know that Nigeria has got it going on when it comes to putting women at the absolute forefront of every single thing that we do. So ladies and gentlemen, please blast it to the world and let people know. Share on all social media platforms. Tag Dr. Herbert Wigwe. You can use his hashtag handle, which is HOWigwe, to make sure you have him also posted as well. Make sure you tag Access Bank and the following, the W community, and also celebrating women. So, as we continue, ladies and gentlemen, I'd also like to recognize that as part of this initiative, we have the Diamond Woman. Dr. Herbert talked about the merger, so we also want to make sure that the Diamond Woman is recognized as they are part of this initiative, as they equally bring the essence of what a woman has to contribute towards society towards this particular event. All right, so continuing on with our agenda, we're now going to move on to a Goodwill Message. And in our presence, we have with us the British Deputy High Commissioner, who will now be giving us a Goodwill Message, and she is by the name of Laura Puffles. And I'll just quickly read out her bio, and I'll call her up to now give the Goodwill Message. So she was previously the head of the UK Department of International Development, which is known as DFID, in Rwanda since August 2014, where she managed a $100 million portfolio of programs that focused on economic development, governance, and social sectors. And prior to holding that particular position, she worked in various positions in the United Kingdom government. She was the lead strategic advisor working for the British Prime Minister in his role as co-chair of the UN Secretary General's high-level panel on the post-2015 development agenda. She also ran the DFID's Department for Overseas Territories, and she led a team working on climate change and also worked for the UK mission to the United Nations as the first secretary responsible for development. And prior to joining the United Kingdom Civil Service, she worked with the United Nations and civil society organizations. And she has also worked in the private sector capacity as a financial auditor, and she has done this across African countries such as Rwanda and Ethiopia, and then also in other countries such as India, Cambodia, France, the United Kingdom, and the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the British Deputy High Commissioner, Laura Puffles.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. The energy in the room is extraordinary. I can feel already it's going to be a fantastic day, and it's wonderful to see so many familiar faces and so many ambitious, talented, incredibly strong women, and indeed men that are champions for gender equality as well. I'd like to start with a show of hand, if I may. Who here believes that it is right for men and women to earn the same thing for the same job? Okay, good. Who here thinks that it is right for women to be afforded the same respect as men? Good. And who here thinks it is right for women to be involved in policy making over issues that affect their lives? Fabulous. I thought as much. We are in a room full of feminists, people, that's right, people who believe that men and women should have the same rights and the same opportunities. Just normal people, right? Normal people who believe that the sky's the limit for women and who believe that women's place is in the boardroom. Is that right? Well, actually, I don't think it's right. My view is that women don't belong in the boardroom. My view is that the place of women is wherever they want it to be. And that may be in the boardroom, but it may be wherever else, as long as women can decide for themselves. Now, we've heard from Herbert Wigwe about the wonderful things that women here in Nigeria have done, and indeed across the world. And we know there's so much to celebrate. And many of you in the room are some of the role models that future generations will be looking at for inspiration. But we also know that there are challenges, right? The truth is that I suspect that every single woman in this room today, with probably no exception, has at one point encountered some form of discrimination or sexism. And it is true also that in many parts of the world, in my country as well, women are still often ignored, marginalized, silenced, and victims of violence. We still don't have enough women in the boardroom, and we still don't have enough women in the policy arena making legislation and regulations that affect our lives, our businesses, and our families. So I think it's fair we have a fight on our hands. But that should be energizing. That should be something that we think we can address. Yesterday, just yesterday, the UN Secretary General tweeted. He's in New York at the Commission for the Status of Women. And he noted that there was a pushback on women's rights across the world. And his tweet was, "We must push back on the pushback." And I think we must push back on the pushback, and we must take individual and collective responsibility for doing so. So I think we mustn't wait to be given seats at the table, but we must actively seek to be at the table. We must pull out the chairs and settle ourselves at the table and be there for a while, even if we get bored at times. We must be ready to stay. And while we're there, we must reset the table so that women are no longer required to accept or adapt to discrimination and sexism. You may remember that in 2017, Hillary Clinton made quite a famous speech. She had just been defeated by Donald Trump. It was an incredible defeat, a very humiliating defeat. She got back up on her feet and made a speech in San Francisco where she used 4 words that I think are just extraordinary and I reflect on all the time. She said we must resist, insist, persist, and enlist. I'll repeat them because I love them so much. Resist, insist, persist, enlist. And I think it's absolutely right that we do that in our lives, together and collectively. And indeed, together and collectively, because sometimes it feels that the fight is an individual one. After all, it's me by myself that's going to go to a job interview. I won't have my sisters in the room with me. But of course, we know that the bigger picture is that the fight for equality and justice is both an individual one and a collective one. And we know we can't do it by ourselves. Since I got to Nigeria, I've heard a phrase called PhD, which I didn't know before, which someone has told me means pull her down. Well, we've just heard at the beginning of this conference that that's not the truth anymore, right? The truth is about PHU and sisterhood, and we need to be supporting each other, like we were saying at the very outset, to be the very best we can be and to make progress in support of women's rights and gender equality. And we need all the support and the partnership that we can have from men, obviously, in this endeavor. We need Amazons and we need gladiators. And I'm so pleased that we have many such gladiators here today. Now, since I have the floor, and I hope you won't hate me for this, Herbert, I'm going to challenge the men in the room to think about one tiny little thing that they can do further to all the amazing things that, that Diamond and Access are doing. And that's maybe to think about a commitment about not having all-male panels. So why, in this day and age, should we have panels where there are only men? Is it not the case that that would be saying that there could not be a suitable woman to take place in that panel and to offer a different perspectives? I think little signals like that and commitments from individuals can go such a long way to make a strong statement about actually the importance of having diversity on panels, on boards, and having the voice of women in every single instance. I'd like to refer you to a cartoon that I'm sure all of you have seen. A cartoon of a group of executives in a meeting. And a woman makes a point, probably a very good. And everyone's a bit silent. And then the chair of the meeting says, "That's a really good point, Mrs. Such and Such. Perhaps a man would like to make it." And I think the story there is a story that many of us would have encountered in our lives, that we're at meetings, we make a point, and we're kind of ignored or glossed over, and then the man makes the same point, and everyone goes, "Oh, fantastic point, that's absolutely brilliant." Well, do you know that this situation occurred also in the cabinet of Barack Obama? Now, talk about a progressive man who did a lot in support of gender equality. Well, even the incredibly senior women in his board had to face this challenge. And so they, amongst themselves, agreed a little tactic whereby if one of them made a point, another woman in that room would say, "Fantastic point," to support each other. And I think what I'm trying to say here is that there is such a need for sisterhood and partnership. But also, clearly, that there's a need for deliberate strategies and for us to be organized. And these women working for Barack Obama were organized. They thought, what are we going to do to get ahead and to make sure our voices count? And I think these deliberate strategies are so important, and clearly businesses and the private sector have such a key role to play here. And progressive businesses, such as the banks that we were discussing today, Access and Diamond, I know they are thinking constantly about how to retain talented women, how to ensure that they have strategies in place to support women to be able to reconcile the work life with their personal lives. And there's so many ways to do that, through mentorship, through coaching, through flexible working hours, through having crashes at schools. There are lots of strategies. And the private sector can really lead the way in this. And in fact, not only can it lead the way in the workplace, but it can influence and inform the rest of society by being progressive and taking a progressive stance in this place. Personally, I also think a deliberate strategy can be quotas. I think I have no problems with short-term solutions to structural problems, but I think that's opening a can of worms, so I'll pass on that one. But I do think that deliberate strategies need to start at home. And I think, we've got so many inspiring women here in this room, shattering the glass ceiling, inspiring young girls to do better and to believe in themselves. But I really think that we, each and every single one of us, also have to reflect on our behaviors in our own homes, how we're bringing up our kids, and how we're engaging with boys and girls in our communities. Are we encouraging boys to learn how to cook like their sisters? Are we encouraging them to tidy up after themselves, to wash up after themselves, to do the dishes? I hope we are, and I hope we're encouraging our girls to excel at science and math and to believe in themselves, and that we're not commenting on how pretty they look in those nice, pretty dresses, because there's so much more than that. On that point on deliberate strategies, one quick remark. I do think that a lot of us do think very long and hard about how we can be deliberate and how we can be successful and what it takes and what are the different formula we have to consider to become successful. I think that's all well and good, but I fear that sometimes we try to be honorary man in making this happen. I fear that sometimes we forget ourselves and what makes us different. And if I may reflect on a personal experience here, when I started my career as a diplomat, I was so worried about not being that middle of the bell curve white male diplomat with white hair and, you know, the proper suit, because that's not who I am. And I tried really hard to be that person and to conform, not just in what I looked like, but obviously in the way that I spoke. And it took me a little while to work out that actually I was never going to excel. I was never going to shine by trying to be that middle of the bell curve person. But that, in fact, it was my own idiosyncrasies and quirkiness, if you like, that made me who I am and enabled me to shine and to succeed. So I think we should all remember to bring ourselves to work, bring ourselves, our values, our personalities, and to build on those rather than always want to be someone else and someone that we think we ought to be. So, I think, enough about what I think, right? But I'm going to conclude now. I think I've done more than my time. But I do want to say to women in the room that they are an inspiration and that they are enough. So often we're told that, you know, we have to be successful businesswomen, but also mothers and also wives, and to look after our communities and do that. And I've seen so many women who are just trying to pack in so much in every waking day and every single minute, running home, looking after the kids, doing the homework, cooking. And you know what? I think we need to give ourselves a break as well. I think we can just accept that we are enough. And you lot, you are more than that. You are an inspiration. You are magic. You are bold. You are strong. You are more than enough. So I wish you an incredible day. I know it's going to be an amazing conference. And I will be watching very closely as you all shatter the glass ceiling. Thank you.
See, women helping women. I got to help her down the stairs. Another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Laurie Bofils. So many great points, so many great points. Come on, I think we can do much better than that. We are magic. We are magic, ladies. And we will not be PhDing. I hadn't heard that one before, but we will not be doing that. All right, just to take us further very quickly, I wanted to remind you we did have I want to correct the hashtags very quickly, add to the hashtags, I might say. It's actually hashtag ThinkW and hashtag Balance for Better, because this is in line with the theme for this year's International Women's Day. Please tag at My Access Bank, and if you can, at the W Community. So can I ask you all very quickly, I'm doing this under instruction, please, to bring out your phones. Let's do it very quickly. There are 1,000 of us in this room. That's a lot of women altogether. And we all probably have, or maybe I should ask, how many of us have Instagram handles? How many of us have Twitter handles? How many of us have Facebook pages? All right, so we are going to make everybody that's not here jealous by bringing out our phones, taking pictures, and tagging all of the hashtags I just mentioned. Do I get a yes to that? All right. And there's something that I've always wanted to do, so I am going to take the opportunity to do it. I've always wanted to do this, so you guys just work with me. And I'll tag as many of you as I can so you can repost this. Hey guys, so I told you I was going to be at the W Community event today. I have so many women that want to say hello. Here they go. Say hi! Told you. All right, so that's the idea. That's the idea. Please take pictures with the women beside you and post and post and post. We want to make people jealous, all right? And of course, if you see Dr. Herbert Wigwe later on today, please tag him as well at HO Wigwe. Repost, all right? Okay, very quickly to take us further, we mentioned that we have a couple of panelists or panels, and we do have some speakers as well. So I'm going to introduce our next speaker. He'll be talking to us on the levers for business growth and how we all in this room can leverage finance to grow our businesses. Oh, you guys are awesome. They're all taking pictures. All right, so I'll give you 5 more seconds to do that. I was wondering what was going on. Awesome, awesome. A round of applause. You guys are wonderful. Fantastic. All right, but I'm going to repeat what I just mentioned. We do have a speaker to talk to us today about the levers for business growth and how we all in this room can leverage finance. Everybody needs money to run their businesses, right? But how we can leverage finance to grow our businesses. And to do that, we had actually Tony Okpanachi, the CEO of Development Bank of Nigeria. I'll just read out his bio very quickly, but he is ably represented today. He's a seasoned banker with over 26 years of experience. He's currently the managing director and CEO of Development Bank of Nigeria. Before his appointment as MD CEO of DBN, he was the deputy managing director of EcoBank Nigeria. Prior to that, he was the managing director for EcoBank Kenya and cluster managing director for East Africa. He was also at various times managing director of EcoBank Malawi and regional coordinator for Lagos and Southwest of EcoBank Nigeria. He also has managed various portfolios, including treasury management, retail business development, corporate finance, corporate services, branch management, and relationships management. He holds a master's degree in business administration from Manchester Business School in the UK, a Master of Science degree in economics from the University of Lagos, and a Bachelor of Science degree in economics from Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria, Nigeria. He has attended several executive management development programs on leadership, corporate governance, credit and risk finance in leading institutions. But he's not here. But guess what? He's ably represented by the COO of Development Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Bonaventure Okaimo. So please welcome him as he comes.
It's a very great occasion, and I'm very honored to be here. Unfortunately, I have to pass on my MD's apology, Mr. Tony Okpanachi. He had wanted to come in. He was getting ready to come down, and something happened. He has another engagement, and he decided to do one thing, put his thoughts down in writing, and insisted, and he said he's actually going to call Dr. Herbert Wigwe to confirm that I did read his thoughts. So I'll try my best to do that. But first and foremost, unfortunately, nobody has been insisting on protocols. So I will continue to do that. I'm not going to do any protocols, but I'll just go straight and read through the speech. I hope I'm able to do a good job. Okay, now, it's truly my pleasure to be here today to celebrate with each and every one of you. Indeed, without women in our lives, of course, nobody will be here today. That's the great truth. So life will not, thank you. So life will not be worth living because of the enormous tasks that each and every one of you do in your daily lives. I personally believe that today was designed to celebrate the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. But perhaps we should make a point to find ways to celebrate women every day. Now, one of the greatest stumbling blocks for starting and growing a sustainable business in Nigeria is the lack of adequate financing for women. This challenge is multiplied. So, there's an array of reasons why women can't get access to finance. We all know them. But notwithstanding all of this, women have shown very great resilience and are starting and growing businesses at a remarkable rate, contributing to household income and national economic growth. There has been significant evidence from global best practices around the world. And it is clear that women entrepreneurs is good business, not only for the bottom line, but for the overall economic development of any country, particularly developing countries like Nigeria. Now, finance service providers have begun to see the significant market opportunity that exist from this demographic. And I've started to create bespoke and innovative business financing solutions that address the unique challenges that female entrepreneurs face. There's no better time as now when women can leverage finance to grow their businesses, given the plethora of financial products available to support female entrepreneurs, both from the financial sector and civil society organizations that provide business support services to women-owned businesses. As a practical step, women need to begin to create plans for accessing finance and seek out low-cost financing opportunities, such as crowdfunding, community development finance institutions, microloan programs, traditional finance institutions, and network of angel investors specifically focused on women businesses. Let us step back a bit and let's talk about the role of entrepreneurs, particularly MSMEs. And it's clear that MSMEs and entrepreneurs have been the backbone of economic growth in developed countries, like United States, United Kingdom, to mention a few. In developing economies like Nigeria, the role women and entrepreneurs play are progressively becoming significant. So let's look at some statistics. In the African continent, for example, SMEs in South Africa, they make up 91% of business activities, 60% of the labor force, and 36% to the GDP, gross domestic product. In Kenya, MSMEs make up 98% of all business activities, 50% of the labor force, and contribute just 3% of GDP. In Ghana, they make up 85% of business activities, contribute 70% towards the GDP. Now, according to SMEDAN in Nigeria, MSMEs make up 96% of business activities and contribute 54% towards the GDP. So, given the size of our economy, vis-a-vis other countries listed above, it is obvious that we've not done much. We need to ensure that this segment thrives because that segment remains the engine of economic growth. Let's come down to the women entrepreneurs itself. In Nigeria, 16.8% of small enterprises and 12.2% of medium enterprises are owned by women. Compare that to 35% and 29% in sub-Saharan Africa. So, there's still a lot to do. Although women entrepreneurs account for nearly half of the owners of micro enterprises, far fewer own small or medium-sized enterprises. So there is a significant need for more women to enter various sectors to begin their various businesses. Okay, now let's talk about, I'll just skip and go to levers of business growth. Let's talk about that briefly. So it is important to know that about 50% of startup businesses make it to 5 years of operations. Typically by year 10, 70% of them are failed. There are many factors to this. Maybe poor product development, maybe bad timing, or even lack of customer care, or just simple poor business conceptualization. But what seems to be a global trend is that the marketing plan or lack thereof is often the culprit. So, dear women, if this rings true for you, implementing a strategy designed specifically to drive rapid growth might be the solution. The main growth levers in business, therefore, are generate a customer base, retain the customer base, and optimize on price. So, to provide more clarity, companies such as Pinterest and Facebook, for instance, have used exclusivity to generate customer base. Okay, now let me talk about the DBN experience with women. Very early, DBN is the Development Bank of Nigeria. So, very early in our lives, we realized that MSMEs, financing them is a critical step to achieving the development impact objective. And we have taken deliberate steps in ensuring that female entrepreneurs are empowered through available financing. In our first full year of operation, we started full financing operations in November 2017. So in our first full year, for female entrepreneurs, we disbursed over 7 billion naira. That was 24% of the total amount disbursed. But there's something that we noticed, that out of this amount, the number of female entrepreneurs that actually took these loans was 74% of the entire number of loans that were disbursed. So I think the women deserve a round of applause for that. So now, contrastly, the issue is that it was just only 24% of women that took the volume that we had available. So there's still a significant number of female entrepreneurs that are not operating in those small and medium-sized enterprises that require amounts that are more than what the micro ones want. So that opportunity still exists. We've dealt with some banks in dealing with this, and I can tell you today, the Access Bank was the first commercial bank that we dealt with on a specific women-empowered program, product paper. So kudos to Ebert Wigwe and team. Okay, now, in the same year, we ensured that we are disbursing to sectors that have large developmental impact. So, but unfortunately, if you look at it, you find that most of our women are engaged in trade and commerce. So the question is, how do we encourage them to do something else? Trade and commerce is good, but we have discovered that trade and commerce does not really create a lot of impact for development. How many staff, for instance, are you going to employ in buying and selling clothes? So what did we realize? 49% of the loans we disbursed to women was for trade and commerce. Manufacturing was 16.3%. Accommodation and food services was 10%, while agriculture was 9%. So we still have a lot of work to do. But there's one interesting point. The feedback from all our partner financial institutions was that the rate of default for women loan was comparatively very low. So, I don't have to say it. I don't have to say it. We all know it. Women pay their loans. This is fact. So why won't we give them more loans? So in the future, we are actually looking at doing more. So our development partners, World Bank, for instance, is partnering with us, and we are specifically looking at a product that will aid women in terms of capacity building. But we can mention something around that. It's not just about giving them financing. It's also about teaching them, how do you use money? How do you do that? So we're also looking at that, and very soon we'll be coming out. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag, but I've been discussing with Titi, the ED, Access Bank, about that. So fine, I won't let the cat out of the bag, but I'm sure she knows already. So, thank you. So some of the challenges that women face in accessing finance and managing business in Nigeria, we know these challenges, but I'll mention some of them. Property rights and control over assets. There was a study I was reading recently about women in Asia. It was a World Bank finance project, and it decided to, like they said, empower more women. So you want to apply for access, you want to apply for finance, you must prove that the company belongs to a woman. So what happened? The husbands would tell the women, go apply for that loan. So when they got the loan and they get back home, give me the money. So it was clear, so it was like something else. I know we are not doing that in Nigeria, maybe in some part of the country, but definitely not. Of course, the women sitting here are not involved with that, or else you won't be here today. So thanks for that. So there's another challenge I also need to mention, which is the biased attitude of some banks. This is improving. Obviously, Access Bank is not one of them. So when you come into a bank and you're a woman, like we said earlier, they'll say, go bring your husband. You want to take a loan, you can't guarantee yourself. So all those things are dropping, and it's still something that is found in some part of the country. And hopefully, as we are moving on, these are going to improve, and we'll see that again. Of course, there's another major one. I'm not going to talk about collateral and all of that. Lack of role models and limited mentorship programs is another challenge that women entrepreneurs face. So we need to also look for ways to start creating those type of programs like this that women can use to grow themselves, to understand what they need to do, and then start accessing finance very well. So specifically, back to DBN, we were licensed in March 2017 as a wholesale development finance institution. We are the only wholesale finance institution in Nigeria. What does that mean? We don't, unfortunately, some people say that, but for me, it's fortunately, we don't deal directly with the end borrowers. So we need to deal with through Access Bank. We need to deal through Diamond Bank. So that's why I love events like this. It gives you the opportunity to realize that whatever assets Diamond is telling you today, they'll have a partner that will be able to provide the needed liquidity, although they have the liquidity, but to also improve and enhance your access to finance. So what do we do in a nutshell? We just have three mandates. Wholesale lending, like I said earlier, provide loans through participating financial institution, partial credit guarantee for SMEs, to encourage the bank to lend. We are de-risking that segment, and that will encourage the banks to lend to you. Finally, capacity building, technical assistance to the PFIs to create more knowledge around how to manage MSME risks. So finally, let me end by saying, why do women matter? Why women matter? Think about it. International Labour Organization, along with some other studies, reveal that women disproportionately make up senior leadership roles in organizations globally. However, it's not empirical knowledge that female board representation is positively related to accounting returns, and that this relationship is more positive in countries with stronger shareholder protections, perhaps because shareholder protections motivate boards to use the different knowledge, experience, and values that each member brings to the table. So to aid in stressing the invaluable importance of women, studies have shown that more female board members translate to higher profitability and better stock performance. And last but certainly not least, female executives are often more cautious than their male counterparts in corporate decision-making. So you see, I have no doubt in my mind that working with and financing women-owned business is bankable business. So let me crave your indulgence by making 2019 and beyond a breakthrough for women-owned enterprises. Thank you very much. A pleasure talking to you. And have a great event. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bonaventure Okaimo. Can we give him another round of applause, please? That was a packed one with lots of great information. We're inspired and encouraged to take advantage of all the financial resources available to us through Access Bank. Now we're going into a panel session, and just before we do, I want to remind you once again to please use the hashtag ThinkW, the W community, Balance for Better, and tag My Access Bank, and let's make this event trend because it's truly an exceptional time for all of us today. All right, I'm going to call on our panel, first panel of the day. They'll be speaking on the same subject, which is, of course, levers for business growth and how all of us in this room can leverage finance to grow our businesses. Our moderator for this panel is Omilola Oshikoya. She's the founder of the Tech World of Finance. She's Africa's wealth connoisseur, and she has over 15 years of experience in finance and investment banking. Her mission is to inspire millennials to live the richer life and to help create wealth and eradicate poverty in Africa through a tool that she calls the Hand of Wealth, which focuses on 5 key areas: what true wealth is, how to create wealth, how to manage and grow wealth, and how to use wealth. She does this through a number of her trademarks and brands: the Tech World of Finance, the Father's Daughter, Do It Afraid, the Richer Woman, and the Richer Woman, or rather the Richer Kids Club. A round of applause for our moderator. On this panel, we have Titi Oshuntoki. She is the ED for Business Banking at Access Bank. She has been the Executive Director of Banking Division at Access Bank, Business Banking Division at Access Bank since October 2013. She is a highly qualified and experienced banker with over 2 decades of cognate experience cutting across all facets of banking. She serves as Director of CRC Credit Bureau Limited and Patrick Learning and Speech Center Limited. She has been ED of Access Bank PLC since November 26, 2014. She served as an independent non-executive director of WAPIC Insurance PLC. She has attended executive management programs in leading business schools, such as INSEAD France, IMD Switzerland, and she's also an alumnus of the Cranfield University School of Management in the UK. She holds a BSc in Civil Engineering and holds an MBA from the University of Lagos. A round of applause. Wow. All right, ladies and gentlemen, also on this panel, we have Adebola Adefila, COO at Banrut Rolls Nigeria Limited. She has been an entrepreneur for over 18 years, 12 of which have been in the manufacturing sector. Prior to joining the Banrut Group, she had a brief stint with the public sector working at the Debt Management Office, Nigeria. At Banrut Group, she has served in various capacities as business manager, chief marketing officer, group operations manager, and general manager, and she's currently the COO for Banrut Rolls Nigeria Limited, manufacturers of tissue papers, which you've probably used. It's a family business that she has helped build with a visible brand representation in 36 states of the Federation and distribution offers, in some West African countries. A round of applause for Adebola Adefila. On this panel, we also have Toyin Onibanjo, founder of August Secrets Nigeria. She's an award-winning child nutritionist, author, and founder of August Secrets. It's a unique child nutrition company manufacturing natural African cereals and recipes. From finding a solution to feeding her own child, she started the company in 2017 from her home, and she now manufactures in 2 factories, selling cereals in over 68 stores in Nigeria, Ghana, and the UK. She's an author of August Secrets Meal Plan book and a Royal DSM Nutrition Prize Award winner. Another round of applause for her. And ladies and gentlemen, a little testosterone never hurt anybody. So we do have a man on the panel, Chukwuka Monye. He's managing partner at CUC Consulting and DG Delta Economic Summit Group. He is a multi-award-winning innovation strategist and managing partner of the fastest-growing management consulting firm in sub-Saharan Africa, CUC Consulting. He has been instrumental to the transformation of several companies in Nigeria and abroad, including women-owned businesses such as Best Man Games, a flagship product of the City of Lagos edition of Monopoly Africa, House of Tara, and Iya Foods in the USA. A very warm welcome to Chukwuka Monye. And as I mentioned, Omilola Oshikoya will be running the show on this one. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Aderonke. Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Happy International Women's Day. So before we start this panel, welcome to the panel. We're going to be talking about levers for business growth, how women can leverage finance to grow their businesses. And Aderonke has done an amazing job introducing my amazing panelists. Please give them another round of applause. They're doing so well. So before we go into the panel discussions, I'm just going to share a few statistics with you. So as we heard with a previous speaker, women are actually better at repaying loans. And with microfinance rates at about 95%, so we pay our loans. Women are starting businesses at remarkable rates. Women's access to finance facilitates not just their businesses or their immediate families, but greater spending on society, nutrition, and girls' education. And women are better money managers than men. Please give us a round of applause. However, statistics say very few women request for loans, and those who come are not well organized or lack the necessary collateral. According to the United Nations Women Country Representative, more than 73% of women doing business in Nigeria lack access to any form of financial facility to support their enterprise. And finally, 17.8% of businesses owned in Nigeria, are owned by women, so just 17.8%. So we have a lot of work to do. So my goal for you is that at the end of this panel discussion, you will understand why we need to leverage finance, what we need to do to be able to do so, and the products and opportunities available. So we're going to start off with powerful speeches, 5 minutes each, from each of the panelists, and then I'll ask a few questions, and then I'll give you guys a couple of questions as well. So we'll start with the amazing ED, Business Banking of Access Bank.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Malala. Yes, so the issues at stake are basically on finance and why are women not accessing finance. I think for me, the three basic issues. So the first thing is knowing when you require financing, then knowing how to prepare yourself or to get your business organized to be able to access the finance, and then knowing where to go to access financing. So if you look at the first question, the first thing is knowing when your business requires financing, and I think you can liken it to a person. So a person knows that he or she requires financial assistance when you go out of money, when you're broke, or when you're cash strapped. And it's the same thing for a business. So if you have a business that is not able to optimize its opportunities, so you're running a business that is, and you know that you require help financially to be able to maximize the potentials you have, then it means that you are a candidate for finance. But if we look at the world today, we know that there's a lot of interest in supporting women to become what they want to be. It is no gainsaying that all over the world today, there's a lot of interest in assisting women to access finance. And I think that's because of the pivotal role that women play in the society. So we know that there's a saying that says that the hand that rocks the cradle basically rules the world, and that's really where the place of women are in the world today. 50% of the world's population today are women, and that's a fact. So we can no longer keep women out of the room when we're having a conversation on productivity, on output, on GDP. Yesterday we had a session with Bismarck Rewani, and it was very interesting, some of the statistics he shared with us. Because he showed us that there's actually a linear relationship between the GDP growth of economies and economies that pay a lot of emphasis on women empowerment. And that was very, very instructive. And I think bringing it home to Nigeria, it is no less so. Because if you look at it today, there's so many special funds that we're beginning to see come into the market. Like the central bank, for instance, over the last 2 years, they've introduced special funds for SMEs, special funds with particular emphasis for women financing. Bonaventure spoke earlier on about what the DBN is doing in terms of promoting women empowerment, sustainability, and all of that, right? So we also have the BOI, and other development finance institutions who've introduced different forms of financing for women today in the market. Also, if you think about it, a lot of banks today are beginning to focus on women too. So you have banks coming up with different products, to support women in driving their businesses. So the question to ask ourselves is, if all this money is out there, really, so why aren't we able to access it? Why aren't we able to take advantage of these opportunities? And for me, the answer is very, very simple. And basically, it's because if you think about it really, most women businesses, they're formed from maybe a hobby, Women businesses largely evolve from something that started as a hobby. It could be an interest. It could be a talent that you have. It could be something you're just passionate about. But the thing is, as a hobby, you're not really responsible to anybody. It is basically you. It's your business. So it makes you happy. You're cool about it. It's fine. But when that interest begins to have an ambition, when that interest begins to have an aspiration, so you're beginning to ascribe revenue targets to it, revenue expectations from it, then it's no longer a hobby. Then it has become a business. And what then happens is, as a business, you need to respect the responsibilities of a business. And that is really where we don't get it. So it's no longer a hobby, so it's not just about you. It is about the stakeholders of the business. Now, who are the stakeholders of a business? So you have your customers, you have your financiers, you have your creditors, you have your shareholders, you have the government, because you have to pay taxes and all of that, right? So, and that's really where we miss it. When you begin to think about it, that the business is now beyond you, and it's all about meeting the needs of your stakeholders, right? You begin to realize that there's an importance in terms of there's so many activities that you have to do in that business. And some of the activities you have to do to meet the requirements of these stakeholders, if you do not have it, the skills, you can always acquire this, you can always outsource the skills. And some of those things are, you need to get more involved in strategic planning, you need to get more involved in marketing, you need to begin to think about financial analysis, accounting, bookkeeping, and even legal administration also. So some of these things, like I said, if you don't have the skills, you can actually outsource this and get professionals to help you with it. Because if you think about it, what are financiers looking out for? A financier is not a charitable organization, so they need to know the financial health of your business. Even if it's a startup, what business plan do you have? What are your aspirations? So it is important that we begin to think very, very seriously about accountability and discipline. So once we begin to put those things in place, then it makes it a lot easier for us to be able to access the sort of funding that we want. Now, businesses require funding at different stages. So if you're a startup, and that takes me to the question of where do I go to? Because you need to get the right type of finance that meets the stage you are in your life, in the business life cycle, and the needs that you have. So if you're a startup, for instance, there's no point going to a bank for financing, and I'll explain this very quickly, right? Startups are better off going to access funds from maybe government grants, intervention funds, those funds from DFIs, like I said. The reason is because as a startup, you don't have any history in terms of your financial performance. And those are the things that a bank will be looking out for. So even if it's, a bank would expect that in 1 year, you're able to come up with your bank statements, your financial statements, and all of that, right? So to avoid that, it's easier for you to go to the DFIs, to go for government grants. And interestingly, there are lots of NGOs that are coming into the market today who are looking to put in place seed finance into startups. But you need somebody to show you the way, and that's why you need to get the right financial partner to tell you where these opportunities are. So if your business is also in a growth phase, you can begin to look at the bank to help you. You have a branch, you're operating from one store today, and you want to have multiple stores. Obviously it means that you would need financial assistance for that. That you can go to a bank, and the bank will show you, the bank will help you with that. If you're looking to diversify your business, or your business model is changing also, so you're a trader, you're buying and selling, but you're beginning to look at maybe going into manufacturing, so you will need to tie down your cash, and you don't want to tie down your working capital, so you go to the bank. So all of these things just boils down to the fact that as you grow your business, you need financial education. So financial education is very, very important for any entrepreneur, regardless of what phase you are in your business. And that's where Access Bank really comes in very, very well. Because, as Herbert said earlier on, we're in the business of empowering women. And we don't just give you the money to do your business. We also help you build capacity. We show you the options you have. We help you with mentoring. We help you with networking, like events like this. And we also have online tools that also help. If you're a startup, for instance, if you Diamond Bank has a very, very powerful SME interactive platform, which is online, and it's called SME Zone. If you go on the SME Zone, you have access to all the various options you have in terms of financing. Remember that I talked earlier on about you going for government grants, going to NGOs, and going to looking for crowdfunding, and all of those other funds that are not very onerous when it comes to meeting the requirements. You can get the information there. We also share that information on the W community platform. So there are many ways in which you can go about raising financing. The most important thing is to have a financial partner that is genuinely interested in your growth and can relate to what you're going through and has experience to show you the way.
Thank you very much. So there are 3 keywords there. Please give her a round of applause. Accountability, discipline, and financial education. So we're going to go straight to Bola, who's going to speak from a manufacturer's point of view, who has Access Finance.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, let me ask, who is not using tissue paper here? Who is using Vicky? Nobody is using Vicky. Oh, thank you. Okay, so I get this question every time, why tissue paper? The Banwood brand started over 30 years ago with a bit of haulage business, a bit of real estate, and a lot on trading. And we're very much green in the manufacturing space. The manufacturing arm came into existence in 2007, and it's been 12 years running then. And coming into a market, right, that already had existing brands, what did we need to do? We created excitement around our product. By excitement, I mean not only were we focused on the quality, of course, the quality was impeccable and still is. We also did a bit of product differentiation. We're the very first company to create some designs on our serviette napkins. Back then, the napkins existing in the market were plain napkins. We're also the very first to introduce free delivery of products to the distributor's warehouse. Back then, the practice was that the distributors will pay for the transportation of their goods, but we offered free delivery. We also had a fantastic incentive system for those on our value chain. Of course, we came in with penetration price. Being a new entrant to the market, it goes without saying, you have to come in with a penetration price. So form followed function. Things fell in place. We captured more states. Of course, we leveraged on being the very first tissue-producing company in FCT where we are situated. So we kind of captured more states. By the 3rd, 4th year of our business, we had presence. We couldn't go further. We had maxed out our machine capacity. We couldn't meet up with demand anymore. We couldn't do more than the 9 states we're doing, and we needed to go loan shopping. Now, I have a father who is averse to loans. He doesn't like to hear loans. In fact, if he borrows money from me, if he just says, Bola, give me 2,500 naira there, he won't sleep until he pays back. So you can imagine how it will be to convince that kind of person to give me the permission to go for loans. But, what I did was I showed him the facts and figures. The market had potentials to do more business, and I needed to upgrade the machines. So it wasn't about just wanting to just get a loan. It was about, we need to move away from this 9 states. We need to do more, and there's potential for more. And he had, I don't know if he's the only one, but I think a lot of people, when they want to go for financing or they want to go to borrow, the first thing they think about is collateral. So even if I have the collateral, I'm giving my house to the bank. That's the mindset. It's like, so you want me to just give this house to the bank? And I'm like, you're not giving the house to the bank. If you're giving the house to the bank, then if you have this mindset that you're giving the house to the bank, then you're already setting yourself up for failure. The bank is not interested in selling your collateral. They're interested in making money and also growing your business as well. And, we went back. It was back and forth argument with him. And one afternoon, I went to his house and I opened the drawer and I said, what is this document called CFO doing for you if it's just lying down in your drawer? Now, the kind of funds we want, we need to back it up with collateral. So can you just trust me to do this? And I'll make sure that after 5 years, you'll come back and say we should go for more. And he said, I hope you know what you're doing. So we went loan shopping. Aside loan shopping, we also went price shopping. Why? Because in manufacturing, your margins are low. It's your volume that makes it make business sense. So we needed to have the most favorable rates we could get. And so luckily for us, we got one. But it wasn't so much about the loan for me. It was about, I have to pay back. I have a father to prove to, and I have to grow the business. So, because what you find really is that some entrepreneurs want to pay back, but is it that they're able to pay back and they're not able to grow their business? Or they're able to grow their business and they're not able to pay back? Or they're not able to grow the business and they're not able to pay back? So I wanted a win-win situation. I spoke to my team and I said, you know, you guys, we have a task ahead of us here. We need to build our volumes on time. And we did. I'll give you facts and figures. So we're coming from the Chinese machines and upgrading to the European standard. And we had, so I'll say one of the products we had 3 Chinese machines producing that product, and we was producing 2 shifts running with all the labor and all of that. We're producing about 5,000 bundles in a month. Now, a bundle is 36. In a bundle of that product, you have 36 packs. So we're doing 5,000 bundle. But by the time we upgraded our machine to the European standard, we had 1 machine, the same length of hours, the same labor, producing 19,000 bundles. So now, what's the next challenge? Marketing. I was sure I could market 5,000. I was sure I could sell 5,000. But how do I sell extra 14,000 bundles? But again, the machine made marketing easy. It made it easy earlier on, before the loan, before the injected funds. Our packaging wasn't fantastic, should be told. The content was great. The content was of good quality, but I needed to do so much of talking and educating the market to let them know that this quality is good. And you know, for something like tissue, I have to use it before I can believe you that it's good. So all the product differentiation we did was just in the bid to kind of attract ourselves to the customers. So having 19,000 bundles, how do we sell it? But guess what? In less than 2 years after the injected funds, we had reached about 15 states. As we stand, we're in all 36 states, including FCT. And as we stand also, we are the second largest tissue-producing converters in Nigeria. And as we stand, we've got offerings in some African countries wanting to distribute our product. So it's, of course, I didn't do this all by myself. I had a team of, I'm very participatory when it comes to leadership, and I think I'm very democratic as well. I allow you to fail because I also fail. I allow you to air your opinions, give me ideas on what to do. It's been a potpourri of all sorts, the good, the bad, the ugly. You know, we're in Nigeria, so. But it's been fantastic. It's been more of good than bad. And I think the injected funds we got actually is the springboard that led us to where we are today. And I've also learned along the line, based on my experience, that you can have passion for your business, you can have drive for your business, but honestly, that passion, that drive can be frustrated when you lack funding. You hear people say, oh, passion is what you need. My dear, cash is king. And honestly, if you don't have cash, I don't know if anyone has experienced this, if you don't have cash, it makes it look like you're dumb, right? Then you look at the next person and you know that I've got something upstairs better than this person, but this person seems to be going far. It is all about cash. But then again, not just taking the cash, just like you said, you need to have financial literacy. I mean, in this journey of ours, I've learned that the banks, they tell you to bring your business plan. Let me tell you the truth. They make decisions based on your cash flow, not the business plan. The business plan is full of assumption. The business plan will tell them all the good story, but they know that your cash flow is what tells them if you're able to pay. So thankfully, we got the loan. Thankfully, after the loan, we're able to even purchase some machines by ourselves from the proceeds we got from the first loan. We've been, of course, we're credit worthy now. I can really call the bank. So when they call me, I'm like, what do you want me to do? And all of that. So it's been good, and that's been our journey so far, and I'm grateful for it.
Thank you very much. Let's give her a round of applause. One major thing that I noted from your speech was that there's a mindset barrier for most people. And so once they can overcome that, then they can access the loan, but then they also have to think about increasing capacity, because when you have the funds, what are you going to do with the funds? So thank you very much. We're going to go to Toyin, 5 minutes.
Yes, 5 minutes. Thank you very much. My name is Toyin Onibanjo. I'm the founder of August Secrets. August Secrets is a unique child nutrition brand. We started out in July 2016, officially, but it was from my kitchen, and it was completely as a hobby. So when Mrs. Titi was talking about being a hobby, I remembered. So for about 8 months, we were running as a pure hobby. I didn't have any direction. I just was enjoying the fact that my son wasn't eating all the pureed foods that I bought when I had him. And then I tried making different purees for him, from guinea corn to carrot purees to green pea puree. I was just having fun. As a 9-to-5 mom, I return from work 3 p.m., and then I make the foods for him. I call the creche to find out, okay, how is my son doing? Is he eating this food now? And I must say that was how August Secrets started. And the business plan that we have, everything has been around this same reason: to provide foods that are natural, that are organic for women who are busy, who are in this room, and their children are at the crèche. What are the children eating? That is what August Secrets stands for. But at the beginning, it was not so. Just like it is said in the Bible, it was purely a hobby, and we sort of, I wouldn't say we lacked direction, but I would really say that we are a perfect example of the way many women start businesses. I was a journalist. I used to cover events such as this. I would just come sit behind. And then when maybe any bank official or any consultant is talking about finance, I'm just looking. All I just do is just to have records and then just go meet my headlines and then just write stories. So, but when we started, it was just me, my blender, and nothing else, and my phone to share to friends. Guess what, guys? I just made this carrot and green pea puree today. Have you seen it? And then our very first customer said, Toyin, can you bring me 5 jars of this food to my office? And I'm like, does this woman even know I'm just going to put this inside a takeaway pack? So I said, excuse me, madam. Please, I don't even have a packaging. I don't even know how to bring this to you. She was like, okay, you know what? I've trusted you over time. I have watched you for over 6 months, and I have seen your passion. Now I'm talking about passion. I'm going to talk about finance in a few minutes. So I've seen your passion. I've seen that you know what you're doing. Just bring the food to my house. I'm going to pay. So we brought the food to our house, from the first person to the second person to the third person. Now in 2 years, we're in 70 stores, distributing by ourselves. Within Nigeria, we have 2 stores in Accra, and then we have in Cameroon. We have 1 in the UK and 1 in the US. So, thank you very much. So yes, we started with a passion, and yes, it was important. So one thing I would say was the big point for August Secrets was that people saw the passion. It was real. It wasn't fake. It wasn't cooked up. Okay, so now after the passion, how do you satisfy it to make XYZ number of cartons to take to the 70 stores? So that was the breaking point for us, I must say. So passion wasn't enough. So it's like the flow of the conversation was just flowing down to me, because everything was just pointing towards August Secrets. So yes, you know how to make the food. It's really so nice. But when we started making the packaging, we started with a minimum viable product for our NAFDAC registration. We just took the packs, just take it there, just register. Okay, we were asked to bring this document. We're asked to have a vitamin test. We're going to make the test. We're going to get everything sorted. But by the time we did that, how do you take those products to the stores? How do people believe in you? So we started with a few people who believed in us. I started sharing the recipes from Facebook. We had a we currently have a community of mothers customers whom they are on, in the office, and then the nanny is calling them, "Madam, your baby is not eating." They just say, "Tony, you know what? Just go deliver this food to my baby." And that was it. So we ensured that we're really good at what we were doing. So when it was the time for us to really expand, so we're currently expanding right now. We moved from my kitchen and moved to a space. And then when we had an NAFDAC registration, we currently have 5 products and a recipe book. So when we had that, we could not move ahead. I honestly must confess that the first thing I did was to do a formatting of my mindset about financing, because we got stuck. I got stuck. My team members got stuck. We know how to make the food, but look at demands. What do? People need this product. Are we just going to sit down with just making 10 cartons and telling people, "Sorry, we can't meet up with demand. Sorry, we can't meet up with demand"? For how long are we going to continue like that? The idea is already there. Someone is just going to come, get finance, and get it done, and people will forget about you. So your passion can go sit in your kitchen. So we had to sit to say, "You know what, guys, we cannot afford to just say, you know what, I'm just making this food for my child. I'm just making this food for my church members," and you just park it at the boot of your car. I had to sit down, and I must confess that one of the people I sat with is on the panel today, and Mr. Chuku Kamoye. I cried to him. I said, "You know what, we cannot continue like this. Are we going to continue like this?" He said, "You know what, just continue. If you need a break, just take the break." So what we did was we took a break, and we did 3 things. So we decided, and one of the things is product development and branding. First thing is, what exactly are you doing? Sometimes we just do, "Oh, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I run 10 businesses." Please, what the 10 businesses is directed at what exactly? So we said we are not just a baby food producer, we're a child nutrition company. So we understood that vision. 5-10 years, this is where we want to be. We want to be selling the products that people can go pick up, the pride of African nutrition, that people can go pick off the shelves, just like imported foods are picked off the shelves. The second thing was the structure. So it couldn't just be me alone. We had to sit to have a team. We needed to get our books right. We needed to understand that banks will not just come and say, "Oh, I really love it. It's so nice." Now we actually have customers who are bankers. We actually have lots of customers in Access Bank. No matter how much they love the food, they're not just going to go into the vault and say, "Tony, you know what? I really love this food. Can you just have this money?" And then begin to make yummy food for my baby. So we needed to tell ourselves the truth that, you know what, we cannot continue like this. We cannot continue to just say, "Oh, I have the passion." So I needed to school myself, and thanks to the NutriPit program, we applied for a NutriPit program where we were trained for 6 months, and now we have capacity with my team. So we have a team of 5 top management people, aside just the people who make the food. Now our 5 management team members are being trained currently, and we've been able to access funding in the aspect of equipment leasing. So we know that it's not just bring some money, we need cash. No, we had already understood right from the get-go where we were going, and because we're building a vision that is more than me, we needed to say we need first capacity building, we need to build our structure, and also if we're getting financing, what kind of financing are we getting? So we're able to get equipment leasing. We said, you know what, we don't need cash. I'm just going to get tempted to go buy a new car. I'm not going to buy a new car. Just buy us XYZ machines to increase the volume of our baby food products. And that is what we're doing currently. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's give her another round of applause. So I know who I'm going to come and meet for this one. So key things, another thing about mindset, again, you have to reformat your mindset. Passion is not enough. And I love the fact that you said you took a break, because sometimes you have to stop to re-strategize, and that's what you've done, and then you put structure in place, and here you are today. So, Chukwuka, it seems like you're the man to go to, right?
Well, hello, everybody. I think I have the difficult task of trying to say what everyone else has not said. But just, I guess, building on the speed networking concept, let me just do some speed storytelling. Okay. There are a number of things. I mean, CUC Consulting is 12 years old. We've done a lot of work now we've done over 250 projects. Now, for the private sector projects that we've done, majority of them are for female entrepreneurs. So thank you. So I'm pretty familiar with a lot of the challenges and issues that female entrepreneurs have. I tell people sometimes that we start off having a brainstorming session and it almost ends up like a therapy session of some sort sometimes. But one of the good things, and I'll share a few quick points, and the first point I'll share will be directed to the financiers, the bankers, the investors. And that's this point, that there's something powerful about a woman when it comes to intuitive enterprise. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. Women just know by nature certain things that need to be done, okay? If I go back to my grandmother, I hear her stories when I talk to other people from my hometown. They say she was a trader. She used to sell George, laces, abada. I don't know what that is. I don't know what you say it in English. Yeah, about that kind of fabric. And she was good at it. She made a lot of money. But there was something that she instilled in her daughter, my mother. And she said, you would always excel, when there's discipline and there's consistency. My mother came and she started a fashion outfit. She made one of the best suits I've ever seen with her hands, not with a sewing machine. That's the second generation. Now, she was consistent as well and disciplined. She moved to the next generation, and that's me. Okay, you're wondering, okay, did he make what he's wearing? Not quite. But that same theme and story still stuck with me, which is discipline, consistency, running the consulting firm for 12 years. But my brother made this, Ugo Monye. Now, he wasn't,
Ebuka Zagbada.
Ebuka Zagbada, yes. Everybody knows Ebuka Zagbada, But it was interesting when, that happened. I think my mother was not in the country. I was receiving an award in the US, and Ugo was doing his thing on the internet. My mother said her two sons, one is receiving the award, and one is breaking the internet, But it was interesting that for a lot of people, Ugo's breakthrough was sudden. It just happened. Nobody remember that, okay, this guy has been doing this thing he's been doing for over 10 years. Again, discipline and consistency. So for a lot of investors here, a lot of bankers, a lot of financiers, I'm trying to make it very clear to you that for every woman you see here, there's something latent and there's something powerful about the intuitive enterprise in them. So you should find a way to explore and exploit that. Okay? So that's the first point. The second point has to do with determination. So my wife is one of the partners of CUC Consulting. And I tell people anytime, any day, that she's not a partner because she's my wife. She's a partner because she's good at what she does. Okay? And I'll use just a quick illustration to buttress my point. Before I had my first child, we'd gone through a series of, losing kids and we had a very tough period. But when she was due to have the baby, finally, she told me something months before. CUC was about 7 years old. And I thought I'd arrived. Okay? But that was the most difficult time of running the business. That was the time she joined the company. I said, don't worry, I got this. She stepped in and then she was pregnant. But this was what was powerful and made me respect the woman, period. She was owing a client a deliverable. And then we had to go to the labor room. I told her, just don't worry, focus on the child. We've come this far. I don't want any stories. And baby was born. We heard the baby crying. The first thing she said was, does she have your hair? I'm like, are you serious? Is that in this condition, that's the first thing you are asking? But the second thing she asked for was her laptop because she had to respond to a client.
Wow.
For me, that just blew my mind, and I looked at her differently from that day onwards. Now, I'm going to wind down now with my presentation. One of the things that I get often, okay, is that a lot of my clients come when it's time for another milestone. They're turning 30, a lot of the women. They're turning 30 or 40, 50, or 60. And most times it's because, they've spent some time and they've dedicated to, having kids and grooming the kids. And all of a sudden, I'm here now, it's 50, I'm doing some reflection. I want to know, what have I done with my time? One of the things I've noticed is that women are so scared about milestones. And I don't understand where the fear comes from, because it appears as though they have created this fear. One of the things I want to say specifically on this particular issue is that you should define your milestones and don't let your milestones define you. Okay? Define your milestones, don't let your milestones define you. You are good at what you do. There are a lot of innate skills that you have. It's not because you're turning 40 or 50 that you should now become afraid. There's no need to be afraid. Will Smith said something, and I had to write it down because I liked it. He said, God placed the best things in life on the other side of fear or terror. Okay. Is it the loan? Some of you are afraid of taking loans. If the numbers support it, go for it. And just go. Finally, I want to speak about digital media and branding. Women, please be careful. Social media is killing us. And I get this as well. No, Mr. Moye, no. It's not what you see on social media. I now want the real solution. So are you telling me that what I see on social media is not the real solution? So what are you doing? Why are you living a lie? Why can't you just go straight ahead and do what you need to do? A lot of people focus on outward branding. One of the things I like about what you said, and I smiled when we had an encounter, is she said, I already have this. I have this passion, and I have the product. You could tell that the substance was there. It's when the substance is there that you can begin to talk about branding. It's when the child is there that you can begin to talk about the naming ceremony. Okay? But many of us, first of all, before the idea, sir, I have a logo. The logo is wonderful. What has the logo got to do with anything? You don't even know if the business is going to be operational. You are talking about logo. You see the color size, beautiful. So focus on the substance and the rest will come. In conclusion, all I would request is for you to just look at your neighbor and tell them, BW, be a woman, be complete woman. So just say BW.
BW.
Thank you very much.
Give him a round of applause. Thank you. I feel empowered. I feel inspired. I feel like I can go and just conquer the world right now. Yeah? Awesome. You said many things, but still again, there's this mindset thing. And even for me that investment banking and finance over 15 years, I talk about financial education and all of that. Even for me, I realized that you don't actually realize you actually have a mindset barrier. There's that fear. So essentially what he's saying is do it afraid and go and access those loans, okay? So you've pretty much answered most of the questions that I have. So I want to give the audience an opportunity to ask questions. I will just ask one question for each one of you. But if members of the audience, put up your hands if you'd like to ask a question. So we have 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to take 4. So 1, 2, there was somebody here, 3, and there was 4 at the back. So who has the mic? Are they going to come up to the, sorry?
Well, the ushers have mics,
Okay.
so they'll just give them mics. Please keep your questions nice and concise.
So just say your name, what you do, and then quickly your question.
Good afternoon. My name is Chidima. I'm a customer service, I'm a seasoned customer service specialist in charge of H&I customers. Yeah.
Can you
So my
speak up?
question
Sorry.
is to Mr. Moye. So when you have your passion, you have that, you know what you want to do, and then you have a lot of contacts. How do you then activate your contact, go in, start talking to people about your business, how to make it grow, let it get heard by them, especially those people that you know can help you in growing that business. So most importantly, it's just about activating your contact. How do you do that?
Okay. Thank you. One of the things that I think people do is that they go approaching people when they don't have a concrete business in their hands. One of the things August Secret mentioned is that she had a minimum viable product. At the end of the day, just take this to the bank. Most people that want to invest, whether it's a bank or an investor, they want money back. They want return on their investment. So no matter how nice you sound, ultimately they need to be sure that they're going to get return on their investment. Therefore, make sure that you go back indoors and develop what you call a minimum viable product or a pilot or something that works. I can guarantee that if you go and approach an investor with something that works, they will likely jump on it.
Okay,
so the first step is not to go and talk to all these people on your Rolodex, but it's actually to develop that product.
Thank you. The lady over there.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Effie Ogwego. I'm a director at the Paper Packaging Company. The Paper Packaging Company is focused on providing environmentally friendly food packaging solutions. So we're currently at a phase where we're trying to expand, and we're really looking at equity financing. But I see that a lot of the things that were discussed here this afternoon were centered around debt financing. So I'm asking for equity financing, how do I value my business and know what percentage of shareholding to give out for equity?
Anybody?
Yeah. Yeah. When you talk about capital for a business, it is made up of equity and debt. Yeah, you're right about the fact that a lot of the conversation we've had earlier has been skewed towards debt. It's important that you have a good measure of equity and debt in your business. And the way it works is you start with your personal finance. You start with funds that you're getting from friends, family. You could also have people who, as Charles has said earlier on, investors who have seen the viability of your proposal and they're willing to take a stake in the business. So it is what you do with equity funds is basically to put in place more long-term assets for the company, for the business. And then you can then dilute that with debt financing, which is more short-term and for your business. But then the mix of equity and debt really depends on the stage of the business and the nature of the business that you're doing, or the nature of the projects or the ventures that you're embarking on. So there's no straight percentage per se. So, because you could have, if you're a trader, for instance, you find out that a trading business will probably have more debt than equity. And the debt will be more of short-term debt because the asset conversion cycle is very short. But if you're into manufacturing, for instance, because you're investing in assets and you want a situation where you're not having to be burdened or your cash flow is not being stretched because you're taking on too much debt, then in that case, you're probably looking for more of equity, or the nature of the debt you're taking is more long-term. So you have loans that you'll be paying on installments, to ease your cash flow. So there's no straitjacket to it. You need to engage a financial partner that would help you, to decide on what exactly is best for you.
Thank you.
We can talk after. On the valuation, we can talk afterwards.
Okay. The lady over there, thank you very much, ma'am.
Hello, everyone. Hi, my name is...
We can't hear you, sir. Can you please speak up?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Ufuma Chukuma. I'm a risk analyst with Nigerian Interbank Settlement System, and I'm also the pioneer of the NIMS Women Network. I'm here with my colleague. We're representing the network here. So my question is for Mr. Moye. How do you advise entrepreneurs about pricing for business growth? Because I've observed, especially in Lagos, that some people think luxury sells their business more and tend to overprice their services or goods. After expense and operating costs, they tend to give high price to customers, thinking it will retain them, but sometimes it scares people away. So what's your advice on the ideal pricing for your services? Thank you.
Okay, these are questions you can't just answer on the fly, but I'll tell you a few things. Number one is that pricing is always a function of your customer segments. Yeah? Pure water sachet is no longer pure water sachet if it's in a leather bag. Okay? The price of the water in the two different containers will be different. Who agrees? No matter how much you just feel like you want to be nice and you want the leather sachet to be 50 naira, it's impossible, correct? So at the end of the day, pricing is always a function of your customer segments. You need to define it. It needs to be clear. Sometimes people may look at you and say, oh, you're crazy for putting this kind of price tag on your product, but you know who you're targeting. If you are not responsive to that pricing, then you are not the target customer.
Thank you. And the last question, 1 minute. She should have the mic by now. Oh, okay, thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Abudu Badmos Oyilola. I'm currently serving. I'm a youth corper. I'm a makeup artist and an aspiring farmer. I just wanted to ask, when do you know when to stop or when to continue as an entrepreneur? Being an entrepreneur is very hard. You keep pumping money, keep expecting for it to just grow, and then it takes years. So I want to ask, what are the signs to know, okay, I should just keep at it, or okay, this is not for me? Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe one of our entrepreneurs should answer. Have you ever been at that point that when you feel like giving up? How do you know when to stop?
Okay, honestly, I've been at a point where I'm asking myself, am I sure about this business, or I would have just joined my fellow friends and be an investment banker and all of that. And the truth of the matter is everybody has their journey. If you speak to the 9-to-5 also, they'll tell you the same thing. But I say the water is greener where the water bill is higher. So if it looks like, I've always felt the pressure, but I will do it all over again and again and again. You don't just give up. You don't just give up. You keep going. The environment, the business conditions are always changing, customer dynamics, so everything will come and stare at you in the face to give up. So anytime you improve on your business, you find out that the competitors are also patiently noticing and they're looking, and what happens is that they're reacting immediately. Either they are matching up with what you have improved on, or they're doing better than what you have improved on. So you have to keep up with the market research. So for me, I've never seen a reason why to give up. You just have to keep moving.
Okay, so thank you. So we're going to round up now. In 30 seconds, I'll ask each person a question. So I'll start with Tony. Tell us one thing that businesses can do to prepare themselves to be attractive for investors and financiers. So I know there are a couple of things they can do, but one important thing they should do, startups, to prepare themselves.
Sorry, 2 things. 1, put your house in order. Put your house in order. You can't invite someone to help you carry a luggage when you are not making any effort to carry the luggage. So first thing is to put our house in order in terms of the team, the structure. And second is the market. Where are we selling the products? Because just like Mrs. Bola had talked about, yes, we got an investment of, say, a cash of 100 million naira, and we produce more products. Where are we selling it to? So the question you should ask yourself is, if I get, I need money and I need cash, I need equity or whatever it is, 100 million naira, is it the current dancing on Instagram that will sell me the same product that 100 million naira will sell? That's the question.
Thank you. And Chukwuka, tell us one business area you'd advise women to focus on to increase their profits massively. So just one.
So I think that, we've spoken a lot about intuition and passion. One of the things that I've observed is that women are extremely good at execution when they have a blueprint. Okay? Once you give them the blueprint, it's incredible how they follow it. Now, some of you are good at documenting and developing these blueprints, but if you are not, it's okay to ask for help with actually documenting and creating a blueprint, because it's important. Once they have a blueprint, the sky is just a starting point.
And Bola, as an entrepreneur, tell us one thing that financiers can do to make financing more accessible to entrepreneurs.
Okay. I think the financiers need to change the narrative on the interest rates.
Narrative on interest rates?
On the interest rates. Because I can see that. Because for me, I said this earlier on, it's not about taking the loan. It's about growing my business and paying back. So there are times, I don't know if anyone has felt like that in this room, where you take a loan and it looks like the bank has sent you on errands. So you don't want a situation where you take the loan and you don't have a business at the end of the day. Sorry, then they need to also understand the sector that they're borrowing in. Don't put all of us SMEs. Don't call all of us SMEs. You can't put the farmer, the manufacturer, the trader, the caterer in the same box. We have different business conditions. We have different challenges. So make it sector specific. Sorry, one last thing. Sorry, thank you. Another thing is that you also need to understand our sector. So I think that if it's possible for the financiers to go a step further, because I've interacted with a lot of entrepreneurs, and I realized that there are some people that know how to produce their product, but they don't know how to run the business. So how about, don't just give them the loan and go to sleep. Give them the loan, have a representative on their board that acts as an advisory. Do you understand?
Thank you very much, Bola. And finally, tell us one major error that you've observed entrepreneurs make and how they can overcome it, what they can do to stop making that error.
Okay, I think the major error that comes to mind is over-trading, because I think there's a wrong assumption that growth is everything, because growth doesn't necessarily lead to profitability. So you should learn not to spread yourself too thin. Overtrading comes with a lot of issues, because you find out that the cash flow of the business is constipated. And when you have, it's like somebody who's constipated. If you have a constipated person, you don't go giving the person food. So what you give the person is fluid as opposed to food. And what you find out is when you have entrepreneurs whose cash flow is constipated, and they're asking you for a TOD, and they keep coming, it's a recurring decimal, I need more money because I don't have cash. Meanwhile, if you could just step back and look at your books, you'll find out that the money you're looking for is actually sitting on your balance sheet. It's sitting on your balance sheet by way of maybe stock, so you might have overstretched yourself in terms of the stock you have. So you can sell some of the stock and reduce and ease your cash flow, or it could be the nature of purchase that you've done. So it's not all the time that you have to buy assets. I think somebody said here that they started by leasing assets. So if you went into leasing, for instance, you pay in installments, but you still have the value, you still get the benefit of the asset today. So it's basically, it's not all the time that, oh, I don't have cash, that you're asking for additional accommodation from the bank. You can actually look within and see how you can better manage even your receivables. So the monies that you're being owed, you're selling, so you're looking at sales. So you're looking at the top line and not the bottom line. So it's important that we all get very mindful, that it's not all about growth, it's more of profitability. And there's a saying that turnover is vanity. Profitability is sanity, so I guess that would help.
Thank you very much. And they've done an amazing job. Please give them a round of applause. And just to wrap up, I like to talk about analogies. And being in finance for over 15 years, I know all the theory with respect to raising finance. And so sometimes I like to use analogies to explain it so I can also understand. And I remember one day I was praying and I said, God, give me an analogy for raising finance. And he said the seed. And so the seed basically has three major parts. The biggest part is called the endosperm, and that's the internal food storage. So when you put a seed in the ground, it first of all feeds on its internal food storage. So as an entrepreneur, you first of all feed on your vision and your personal savings. Secondly, then the seed, as it grows, it begins to attract water and nutrients from the soil. So as an entrepreneur, as you grow, then you can access finance from family and friends. But you see, the seed cannot remain below the ground. It has to go above the ground. Now, to be able to be sustainable above the ground, it needs sunlight, because sunlight is a powerful element. And so this is where you need financing from banks like Access Bank and their amazing W Power loan. That's very low interest rates. And so once you can access that finance, like the bank, you will grow up, like the seed, you will grow above ground, and then you can be fruitful to the whole world. So make sure you go out and access those loans. Next year, the statistics have to change. Thank you very much. Please give them a round of applause. They've been amazing.
Thank you very much to our panelists and to our wonderful moderator. We're going to do a quick group picture before we let you all go. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Titi Oshutoki, ED Business Banking, Access Bank, Adebola Adefila, COO, Banroot Rolls, Nigeria. Come on, we can keep clapping. Oluwatoyin Onigbanjo, CEO, August Secrets, and Chukwuka Monye, Managing Partner, CUC Consulting, and of course, our wonderful moderator, Omilola Oshikoya, founder of Tech World of Finance. Come on, let's give it up. There's still so much to come. It's such a wonderful, if you're enjoying this, can I just see a show of hands? If you're learning so much, such a great way to spend the day. And I just want to remind you to keep using the hashtag #ThinkBalance for Better. Tag My Access Bank. Let's get this event trending. Let's get people jealous, the ones who couldn't be here today. Some of you have asked what W Up is. We've all heard the term man up, but nobody says woman up, right? So that's what the W community is telling us to do today, is to woman up. So if you see that outside, that's what that means. And as you've heard a number of times on this panel, Access Bank has a number of loans that are available to you. So we're going to take a quick break and watch a video that explains what is called the W Power Loan. So I'll ask you to draw your attention to the multimedia screens for that video.
Financing a small or medium-scale business is a challenge for most entrepreneurs. Women start businesses to meet the demand for a product. This business then becomes a source of income for them or a supplement to their personal income. But the problem starts as the business expands and the capital invested can no longer sustain the business. Access Bank has come up with a solution, the W Power Loan, which assists women with loans of up to 100 million naira at a discounted rate. We also provide business support services that helps you through every phase of your business. So, if you're a woman doing business in fashion, beauty and wellness, catering or eateries, hospitality and tourism, healthcare, education, information technology, and manufacturing, the W Power Loan is here to grow your business. Start your application today by going to any Access Bank branch or visit www.thewcommunity.com.
All right. Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to proceed on with the wonderful program that you are having. Please put a round of applause together for the fantastic panel. That was a very interesting and engaging conversation. So at this point, in line with the schedule, we're just waiting for a performance group to come up. And I believe that they are ready, but I think while we just make sure that they do get ready, we're just going to have a continuation of the video that we just showed on the power loan. So we just have more on that particular power loan while the particular art performance that we are expecting gets themselves together. So here, Word, you'll be going on shortly after this particular video. So we're just going to show the second video more on the W Power Loan, and then we'll continue on from there.
So I heard you're interested in accessing the W Power Loan. So, what next? Well, let's get back to the basics. First off, to be eligible for the W Power Loan, you need to own at least 50% of the business. Your business must be registered by the Corporate Affairs Commission and must have been active for at least 12 months. With 4 unique tier classes tailored to suit your business needs, you need to identify the specific business tier that you belong to. For tiers 3 and 4, your business must have been running for at least 12 months and you can access up to 20 million naira. And guess what? It comes with no collateral at all. All you need is a credible guarantor. However, if you fall into tiers 1 or 2, you can access up to 100 million naira so long as your registered business has been up and running for 5 years. You may ask yourself, what documents do I need to begin this dream journey to build my business? Well, let's break it down for you. All you need to do is visit any Access Bank branch, fill the W Power Loan application form, obtain a bank statement of your business account, and provide other relevant documents which may be required through the process. With the opportunity to pay back within 12 to 36 months at a competitive annual interest rate of 15%, the Access Bank W Power Loan is here to see you through that business breakthrough you have been waiting for. So, what are you waiting for? Pop into any Access Bank branch and register for the W Power Loan today.
Access Bank. Speed, service, security.
All right, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. So at this point, we're going to have an art performance that's going to be put together by the wonderful dance ensemble that are now going to do a drama interpretation to now more or less speak artistically to this conference. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Hear a Word.
tell you how I meet my husband, you will not believe it. That time, I am selling cloth in Balogun market. But my family, they will not leave me alone. They say I must come back to village and marry, that I am get too old. They don't believe in woman making too much money, that if I have too much money, I will get Igberaga, and no man will want to marry me. So my life will just a song. But by that time, business have already entered my blood. In fact, I'm already having plenty customer in Eko. I am thinking how I am going to open 3 more shops. One in Mushi, one in Oshodi, and the third one in Choprite. That is how I meet my husband, yo. He is the one that come to open the shop that I want to rent in Oshodi. He have looked at me up and down, and he say, only you, only me, Kenny. Only small you want to rent this big oversized shop? Yes, Ke. It is not everything that is smaller than you that you are bigger than. We laugh together. He will come to my shop and he will eat asaro, drink stout, and call me queen of the market. He will sit down. Yaloja, no worry, eh? I will take you to Dubai. I will carry you to Amsterdam. You will sleep on cloth that is softer than my grandmama Amala. Then you will know I want to marry you. He will drink. I will laugh. He is not from my place, yo. But small time, I marry him and call him landlord. Small time. I come and know that landlord is not a landlord, yo. The shop is not his own. Even the house we are living is not his own because the owner come and drive us out. Me, I close my eye. And landlord is not brought money. I know landlord is not going to brought money. But instead of fight, me, I make money. Every week, I give landlord money. We eat together. Then he go back home and sleep. Me, I face my business. I am selling lace, damask, polished cotton, and fine cloth for special occasion. Small time, God bless me, and I gather enough money and buy us house in Bariga. Thank you. God has blessed me, and me too, I am grateful. So, all the small women who want to start business, sometimes I loan them, sometimes I just dash them. That is how my line in the market. Come and fill up with women with successful business. Come and see. All this time, landlord is not brought money, oh. In fact, he will drink and joke with his friends that it is his wife that climbed on top of him in the night. Me, I happy. I have husband. And my family, they leave me alone. But we have not get a child. Then, one Friday like that, he come to my shop, very happy. He hold my waist and say, queen of my life. Then I never see him again. They did not let me see the body, but me, I know, landlord have died. So, I closed all my shop to go home and cry for my husband. As I want to sit down, is that, yo?
We are the brothers of the owners of this house.
See plenty people for our gates, yo. Me, I never know landlord get plenty family like this.
We are here to collect our brother's property.
Hey, sorry, oh. Don't be annoyed. But your brother has not get anything.
We know this is his house, and we know he has plenty shops. We are here to liquidate.
Liquidate. Remove yourself my property.
You must be a crazy woman to ask us to leave our own property. You have no children. This is our wife.
They showed me one small girl that is carrying a small child. If not that you are drink bush and smoke marijuana, you will know this is a call. The call of Olufumila Ransom Kuti. The bomb place of Abibatu Magaji. Me, queen of the market. Quick. I mobilize the market union and the other women on my line. They know my story. They too, they mobilize other women. As soon as my husband's brothers touch one of my shops, they round them. They beat them and tie them like goats. And I pick the phone. Police! Thief has entered market. If I ever see the leg of Yala Yaku Yala Yababai in this leg again, you will meet your maker.
It fails when it is incapable of protecting all its citizens alike.
It fails when it does not seek out or prosecute sex offenders who violate the body, mind, and spirit of women and children.
It fails when, as a victim of rape, a woman cannot find help and is further victimized by being ostracized.
It fails in not protecting women whom upon the passing of their husbands are stripped of all their worldly possessions. It fails when it raises boys who behave selfishly and then expect them to grow up and live responsibly.
It fails when it is incapable of instilling processes to protect girls who seek to have an education.
It limits a woman's potential when it needles till her spirit believes her worth lies only in her ability to produce children.
It binds a woman to lesser when she is forcibly circumcised, cut up, shut up, and then her spirit locked up.
It fails when it is us women who join in the desecration, denigration, and oppression of other women.
It breaks down when it is incapable of passing a bill to stop 50-year-old pedophiles from owning and marrying the innocence of 7-year-old girls.
It limits itself when it creates a culture where women must speak soft, sit still, and play small when they have so much potential to give all.
It starts and ends with us. All our communities shall not, must not fail.
Hear word!
All right. Please put your hands together once again for Hear Word. You know, for me personally, these are the things that make men like me feminists. And that indeed was truly, truly inspiring. Please put your hands together once again. That was powerful. Wow. All right. And put your hands together for yourselves. Thank you so much. You guys have been absolutely amazing. I'm loving your energy, and it does show that women do work very well together, okay? I can't imagine putting a room of men like this together, and I don't know what else we'll talk about besides football. So congratulations to you guys. All right, so we're going to continue moving on into the next part of the program where we are now. We're going to move into the second panel discussion, and it's going to be on women and innovation, and it's going to be focusing on how women can build small businesses through innovative interventions and through creative things. And just listening to the last panel discussion, you know, there's nothing short of creativity that women can do. And I know, having been married for a while and having children as well, the things that I have seen my wife do in my home with just putting meals together or just basically organizing a home, I do believe 100% in the creativity of women. So I'm looking forward to this panel to see what we can discuss and also see how best we can engage in some ideas. So to go ahead and put together a small presentation or a small discussion to now lead us into the panel discussion, I'm going to ask that we have a speaker come up, and her name is Miss Audrey Motupi, and she is the Chief Executive Officer of System Logic Group. So while she's coming up, I'll just go ahead and just read her citation very quickly. She's currently, like I said, the CEO of Group Strategic Services at Liberty Holdings and Liberty Group. And she joined them in 2005 as a management consultant, and she's also served as head of inclusive banking at Standard Bank. Her experience spans across various business functions, including group strategy, human resources, marketing, communication, and corporate affairs. And she served as director of Brainworks Capital, and she's also director that served previously at Pick and Pay Holdings Limited, and she serves as chairman of Orange Babies for South Africa. She's a fellow of the African Leadership Initiative, and Ms. Motupi holds a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science from Trent University in Canada. And here to talk about women and innovation, please put your hands together for Audrey Motupi.
Thank you. How's everyone? You know what they say, you must own your life. That's how I start. So I'm going to embarrass the and say that actually that bio is very, so I don't recognize myself in that, but we'll get to that. When you own your life, how many of you have your tablets here? Because we're going into technology. Or cell phones. Guess what? That's the future, but not the only future. The future is female. We're talking about innovation and women. Repeat after me. The future is female. And the reason the future is female is precisely because every single innovation in technology going forward, whether it's your iPad, whether it's your phone, will not work into the future in driving change unless you are involved. How many of you have heard about AI and technology? Robotics, AI, machine learning. Did you know, and we're going to talk about innovation, but did you know that the future perfect robot is not possible without women being involved? Did you know that? Why? Machine learning and robotics is about gathering data and information. Gathering data and information requires every single one of us, better for life, to be involved, correct? We are not involved as much as we should right now. Now enter innovation itself. Innovation is another word for an idea. And most of you are here wanting to know what I can do to innovate my business better. It starts with you, and it starts with an idea. And believe it, and you'll hear from the examples later, there is no new idea anymore. There is no new idea anymore. The difference is in the execution of that idea. So the innovation we're talking about requires every single one of us to be involved around that. And I use an example of every single one of you. The cell phone you're holding, in the 1800s, there was a woman, Shirley Jackson. How many of you have heard of Shirley Jackson? Anyone? Shirley Erin Jackson. Guess what? all cell phone users better say thank you to Miss Jackson. Because she, not a he, she contributed to the inventions of the touch-tone phone, portable fax, caller ID, call waiting, and fiber optic cable. She's also the first African American woman to earn a doctorate at MIT in nuclear physics. So innovation starts with you, and innovation into the future is female. But that's not enough, because we're going to listen to a panel, and the reality out there is that women and men actually gravitate towards different industries. We are told among women's startups, 68% are in the consumer sector compared to 45% of men. That's you. 65% are in the consumer sector. The customer is king. The purchasing power is sitting with you, with women. So when I talk about the future being female, think of it not just as an innovator, but as a consumer as well. We make the purchasing decisions. Somebody asked a question around what do you do when you're about to fail, the future aspiring farmer. You never give up. You reinvent your idea. Because whatever you've been doing until now in your farming innovations, perhaps you can use it in a different sector. Reinvent, that's innovating. 29% of men are represented in the transforming sector, capital-intensive production of goods, compared to 16% of women, the transforming sector. But the future is about consumers. That's you. Now, we've got quite a few young women, I'm told, in the audience. Women, young women, actually are embracing entrepreneurship more than some of us did earlier on in our careers. Women ages 25 to 34. How many of you are here? Thank you. We see quite a few. 25 to 34 have the highest rate of entrepreneurship, driven by economics and driven by necessity and driven by passion. But the question today, and hopefully we'll hear more about it, is really what is the role of innovation and how do you actually innovate? And I'll tell a story. I stand on a stage, it's Access Bank in Diamond. We're talking about the W and about women. As a woman, when you innovate, innovation could be an idea, a product, a process, a service. But it also be about innovating yourself. In 2014, I was with the International Institute of Finance in Nigeria, Lagos, on stage, talking about disruptive technology. All your local banks were represented. And the one and only, Herbert Vigwe, who was here, I got off the stage and he said, "You've confused me about those disruptors that are coming in the future." Because in my work of line, which is what I talked about, the CV, I own and run a digital innovation company. The idea started over 20 years ago, sitting in a boardroom, listening to conversations, and a comment was made that we don't have enough women in tech. And I remember saying to myself, I'm going to figure out how to reinvent myself. Innovation is about that idea that you convert to reality. And I did just that. But the starting point is you have to equip yourself with the knowledge. Learn what it means. We are scared of technology, some of us. I realized very quickly it's the ones and the zeros. How many of you can code? Girls who code, can I see hands up? Anyone? Those ones and zeros, they're not so scary after all, aren't they? Coding, simply put, and that's an example of innovation, is taking an idea, working that idea through to a practical solution. Shirley Jackson was not inventing a phone or supporting components for the future phone that we hold. She was taking an idea, inventing that idea, evolving that idea to action. The second thing around innovations, which is a myth that I found out, is that part of those simple ideas, it doesn't have to be the big idea. To innovate your business, you have to come up with a problem statement. Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, today, we all celebrate him. The idea came from where? How many of you know? His heart was broken by a girl. Correct. Do you know that? It took him, that idea of anger, took him to create something that allowed him to communicate, which he thought he was communicating out of anger. And today we communicate using what? Facebook. That network analysis, that network community. Alibaba. How many of you know of Alibaba.com? We love Alibaba, right? How many of you are on an e-commerce platform? All your businesses. How many of you, or how many of you have websites with your business registered on? How many of you collaborate with other businesses to register your websites? Very few. How many of you co-create? I see the ladies from Tiffany Amber. The fashion industry, for those who are looking for digital marketing, probably led in that regard around creating the excitement online about showcasing the value of my product. That's innovation. It's not technology. And I'm not talking about your pictures on Instagram. So Agus Secrets will tell you, beyond Instagram, there was a business case. So how you evolve and how you innovate, while it starts with the idea, it also requires the boldness to enable you to say, I can do this. I own this space. Not just on Instagram. I can collaborate. I can integrate platforms. I can digitally market. I can package my product differently. But more important, and that's why, thanks to Access Bank and Diamond, I can find my right financial partner. Access to funding, networking, collaboration are the secret ingredients beyond the idea. But it doesn't start unless you believe in yourself. And I use the example of the fashion industry because one of the things you'll notice long before the technology, you had all the catwalks. The fashion industry is bold. Why? Because the innovations are about convincing you to like something that sometimes we think is crazy, right? Ideation process and innovation for a business idea starts with a little bit of crazy. With that little bit of crazy, you then take that idea to the next level and you say, how do I tap into the consumer? I talked about consumers. You are a consumer. The future is female. You purchase and you ideate, and in most cases, you actually build the future products. So how do I take this to the consumer? Whether it's in agriculture, whether it's in health. Most of you probably heard about fintech. I spent most of my life working with fintechs, financial innovations in technology. They came, they threatened to disrupt the big banks, now they're collaborating. Meditech, medical technology. Any doctors sitting here, and I met one doctor earlier on, life-saving ideas emerge from innovations. Life-saving ideas simplify access to health. So innovation is not a big thing. You don't need to build Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. You need to change your mindset. You need to collaborate. You need to think about the consumer. And more important, you need to believe in your idea. So the statistics are plenty around innovation. And I said, and I'll summarize there, that there is no new idea. And we're going to hear from the panel shortly because they believed in their idea and innovated. They collaborated. They found access to funding, however difficult it may have been. They reinvented themselves, but more important, they boldly tried to understand who is my consumer with that little bit of crazy. If you don't sub-segment and understand who actually is your consumer, who's going to use that? I walked in with an iPad and a cell phone for a reason. Anyone running a business and innovating, you can do your business here. You can do your business on your iPad. So in conclusion, I look forward to the panel, but more important, the ideas in this room can be the next innovation to change people's lives. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Please put your hands again together for Audrey with that wonderful talk on women and innovation. All right, so we're going to kick right into our panel discussion, and I'm going to call up the moderator who will now, follow pretty much the same format that we saw in the first panel discussion, and then I'll now call up the panelists one by one. So at this point, I'll please like to ask our moderator for this session, as she is a producer and news anchor with CNBC. Please put your hands together for Didi Akinyelure to please come up. Okay. All right, so while she comes up, Didi is an award-winning journalist and Thomson Reuters business correspondent. In 2016, she won the prestigious BBC World News Comla Dumont Award. In addition to her role at Reuters, she also presents the CNBC international television series IoT, which is powering the digital economy, focused on digital transformation and living on the edge on the BBC World Service, a radio series on the impact of climate change on communities around the world. She's an accomplished presenter and producer with extensive experience working in television, radio, print, and digital. She has also built an impressive career as a moderator and a speaker. She is passionate about Africa, and she loves to tell the story through her career in finance, and she has been doing this since 2012. She has been featured in Forbes Women magazine and included in a list of world's most influential business journalists and the 100 most inspiring women in Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Didi. Thank you so much. All right. So I'm going to call up the panelists one by one to please come up and join. We have Patricia Inzolatima, who is the chairwoman of Bizoli Holding. All right. Patricia is a native of the Democratic Republic of Congo. You are very welcome. And has over 12 years of entrepreneurial experience. And she is a WIA ambassador for the DRC and chairwoman of Bizoli Holding and founder and managing director of the EXP Community Park. Okay? She's an inspirational woman leader, and she is a Vlisco ambassador, and she has been doing this, especially working with the Vlisco 170-year anniversary of that particular wonderful brand that we all know here in Nigeria. Thank you. And also at the same time, she was the Raw Bank face of the DRC for her engagement in women empowerment, Women in Science by L'Oreal, and a UNESCO DRC ambassador. All right, you're very welcome, Dee. Very welcome, Patricia. Okay, and then up next we have Kofo Akinkube, who is the MD CEO of Secure ID Nigeria Limited. Kofo, a prize-winning graduate of mathematics of the University of Lagos, spent 12 years in banking, first at the International Merchant Bank and then as a pioneer staff member of Chartered Bank. Kofo is the founder of Interface Technologies, Secure ID Limited, and Secure Card Manufacturing. She's just all around a boss lady, all right? She currently serves as the managing director, CEO of Secure ID Group, which is comprising of the Secure ID and Secure Card Manufacturing. Kofo is a passionate and bold entrepreneur, as both companies are the first of its kind on the African continent. Okay, this is very interesting. We're just surrounded by just amazing individuals here today. All right, next we have Timiye Giwa, who is the founder, CEO of Life Bank. She studied international public management at the Middlebury Institute of International Studies, and she comes with over 10 years of health management experience with the DFID program, the World Health Organization, UNDP, and the Lagos State Government. Please put your hands together for Timiye. And then up next on the panel, we have Tosin Durotoye, who is the founder of the Bloom Africa. Tosin is the principal CEO of the Red Kite Group and founder of the Bloom Africa, an initiative that curates engagements and safe spaces for ambitious African women to connect, learn, and grow. One of Tosin's most recent projects included establishing Greenhouse Lab, the first female-focused tech accelerator program in Nigeria, and the only powered by Google accelerator program on the African continent. Prior to this, Tosin worked as the Director for Strategic Partnerships at the edutech company based in Boston, Massachusetts, the United States. Please put your hands together for Tosin. Thank you. All right. That's it. Thank you so much. So I'm going to hand back over, and then you can just handle it from there. Thank you guys so much.
All right. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As introduced, I'm Didi Akinyelure. I'm a business correspondent at Thomson Reuters. And very much what I do is centered around business news. I have a lot of focus on female entrepreneurs as well. As the previous speaker just said, innovation, in many cases, when we talk about innovation, we tend to think around technology or emerging technologies and how we need to adapt our businesses to the changes that are bound to happen. And that is correct. But as the previous speaker said, innovation is also about something new. It could be a new product. It could be a new way of executing your business. It could be a new market that you're going into. In the previous panel discussion, a young lady stood up and she asked a question. She said, how do I know when to give up? When I'm pumping money into something and it's not just working. And I was sitting there and I was thinking to myself that, you know, one thing that should probably have been said to her is, in many cases, you don't have to give up. You can innovate your business. You can change something about your business or your product. If we were going to sit here and talk around the numbers of businesses out there that started off doing something, but are now doing something completely different, it's local and international businesses, we will probably be here for the entire day. Most people start off doing something, and then they innovate, and then they change. And that is the message that we're trying to pass across to you today. I think that a lot of women in general, whenever you hear change, whenever we have to change a structure that is clearly already working, it comes with a lot of fear. It's very difficult for us already, and then we think, why change something that's working, right? Well, luckily for us, we have 4 women here who are perfect examples of women who are constantly changing the way that they do things. They're not only successful in their businesses, but they're constantly innovating as well. So let's get straight into them. Patricia, the first thing that I'm going to say to you is just reading your story and reading your profile. A lot of your story is centered around the empowerment of women. And yet you've been able to create these different businesses. You know, the core still remains women empowerment, but then you're doing transportation, you're doing marketing, there's a magazine, there's fashion. And I remember reading through and thinking, this woman just does not stop innovating. So perhaps you could start by sharing with us, 4 to 5 minutes, your story of innovation.
So, good afternoon, tout le monde. Oh, sorry, I wanted to say tout le monde like in French. Okay, thank you for the question. I want to go quickly. You know, like 7 years ago, my company was down, my marketing agency. And then I tried to think the way I can innovate and change the perception of women. And I started to say, all the time we are talking about empowering women, innovation, but at the same time, we say we cannot innovate because this kind of way is for men, is not for women. And I decided to create the Uber, but Congolese Uber with only women. Why? Because it was very important to change people's perception. And if we want to be, like, if we want the future to be female, I really love the slogan, the future is female, because all the time I love to say the future of Africa will be female. And a woman will change many things in Africa, will recreate, even succeed where men fail. And so I say I need to create an holding. I don't want to play small. I really want to go, you know, to pierce the glass ceiling. I really want to go so far in my life and when we're talking about innovation in Congo, I need to be the first woman about innovation. So I was working about the taxi cab. I say I want to have women like driver, not men. If I need to use men, I need to have men evening, so they can go out and we will be sleep. In the morning we will work. You know. And today we have like a big company. We are launching in Rwanda, Burundi, Uganda, Zambia, and Namibia. And then I didn't want to just to be focused on the taxi. I say I need to be also to do the delivery. So we started with UBIS delivery to deliver all the goods. So people that don't need to go to the market, they can only book or call us by the call center, and then we will deliver. And the third thing, I say we have a big problem when we buy online. We know that in Africa it's not easy with even the mobile payment is not easy to use the payment for the e-commerce. So I try to build our own Visa card prepared only for women. So then we can do finance inclusion, but also at the same time, we can help all those women that keep money home to have their own Visa card with the cash. Why? Because almost we travel, we go to China and Dubai, and one day I was in the plane in Kenya Airways, and I saw a lady, she lost all the money she was supposed to go to Dubai to buy some stuff. And I said, this lady, he's the only 5,000 that she has to travel, to start business. So I said, I need to think the way I can help those women who doesn't want to have bank account, but how they can keep the money. So we create this Visa card. Today we have more than 5,000 members. They use our card. And also we went in diaspora like Belgium and South Africa to find all the Congolese. They use Western Union about money to help them to have our own Visa card so they can make all the payments. This is the old kind of innovation. And sometimes we think we need to have a lot of money to innovate. We don't need to have a lot of money. Innovate is a mindset. I really love the speech because it's a way I'm thinking also the time when I talk to women. We really need to learn more. Innovation is about how do you see your life 5 years from now? Where you see yourself? Do you want to become the next Hopper? So try to learn more, and also to pierce, like I say all the time, the selling to go higher and harder. Because if we want the future to be formal, we need to know more. It's easy to say, yes, there is a gap with men and women. Yes, but the gap is you can change it. How can you change it? By innovate. If you innovate more than men, why they will come to give men more than you? You need to be like the author of your own life. You are a masterpiece. Like I say all the time, I'm a woman of God. And I say, God did not create me to come just to come accompany some people. No. I'm coming because I need to have. So, and all the time, the way I'm doing business, I say to God every morning, I want you to give me more imagination. I need to create the best thing. I need to be better. I need to work for the better. And so, and I really, when Access contacted me, I say it's really what I wanted. Because around 5 years ago, I will close for that. I went to 10 years ago when I started, I have 12 years in the business. 10 years ago, I went to the bank. My banker, I asked him to give me money to start business. He said, you know, madam, we don't believe in women. You will not pay us. You don't have collateral. So I told him, one day, I will be your competitor. At this time, I started to work. I say, I need to have my first woman bank. And every day, when I drive in front, I saw a bank. I say, God, this is my next bank. And and I started to work. I started with the Visa card, the investment fund, and I know that one day we will work with Access Bank and to become partner. Why not in Congo? Because we need to believe that we can achieve anything. But God will not use each of you if you just think small, if you don't want to innovate, if you don't want to change your mindset. You need to change your mindset. And you really need to all the time to sit and say, I'm a masterpiece. I'm not nobody. I'm somebody. I'm a child of God, and God, I can achieve anything. Here's the only message that I wanted to give to you today.
All right.
Thank you very much, Patricia. So it's all about your mindset. You know where you want to go, and you're going to continue to strive to get further. You don't have to be comfortable in your business. Now, you mentioned Visa cards, and I was wondering, is there anyone in the room that has an ATM card? And if you have, please raise it up. I want to see it. I'm not trying to steal your money. Or a SIM card, or a voter's card. Let's see how many of you actually voted. Right now, the chances are, there's a chance that one of these cars that you're showing us right now was made in a factory that was owned by Kofo. Kofo is the founder of the first certified smart card manufacturing plant in Africa. I didn't say Nigeria, in Africa. And like many of you in the room, Kofo was an ex-banker. I was an ex-banker as well. And yet, she went from being an ex-banker to starting a biometrics company, I believe. And even in that, she then decided to do something different. And she took a little, slightly similar turn, but slightly different as well, and launched, the company that you own today. So, Kofo, tell us about that story of innovation, please. Thank you.
Wow. Can you hear me? Okay. Hello, everyone, and thank you, Access Diamond Bank, for this WL initiative. I think, Didi, you've said, I was just going to ask everyone that how many of you have a smart card? How many of you have phones with a SIM card? Before I start my story, if I were to ask the question 12 years ago, that how many of you use cards for payment, probably to be just a third of you in this room. If I were to ask you a couple of years ahead, maybe in another 5, 10 years, and say, how many of you use cards for payment? There might be not too many of you. So the way technology and innovation is going is that you could use your wristwatch to make payments. And so why I'm saying this, and the question about innovation brings a lot of resonance to what I do. So Secure ID is a company that I founded, and we're a smart card manufacturing company, certified by MasterCard, Visa Card, Verve, GSMA, and so on. So we do smart cards for the banks, SIM cards for telcos, and then high-security ID documents like driver's license, passports, and so on. How did we start? Was in banking, left banking because I wanted to be with my toddlers and children as a mother. And whilst I was there, an idea came, and I started my first company from a guest room. I didn't have much capital, but I had a bit of savings, but I still needed some money. So to do that first business, I needed a bit of money. And like I always say, when you work, people are actually watching you. And so by the time you approach an angel for some investment, they look at you and they believe in you. And someone believed in me, and I was able to run that first business from the guest room that grew and grew. And then from that first business, again, another idea came to say, look, this is such a cash-based society. And we were using cards, but it was magnetic stripe. Were there players? Yes, there was. But in coming up with the idea, I had to innovate to do something better than the current leader at the time. And that brings us to innovation. And so we came up with the first chip and pin factory in Africa at the expense of everyone saying that it could never happen. And today, when we started, the vision was also big. So with women, we tend to have very small visions. We limit ourselves. And what was the vision? To build a world-class plant, a world-class smart card manufacturing plant and digital solutions. And today, we export to about 21 countries across Africa and also dominant in Nigeria. Now, to be the leader, you have no choice but to be innovative. Innovation, if you're not innovative, is going to kill your business, and you're just going to have a short-termism approach towards it. We penetrated this industry by studying who was the leader and coming up with something that was better than what the leader was doing. And so when we started the business, there was a time we had 100% of the market because there was nobody. And so even when we started the business, we had to benchmark against the first global player. So I had no choice because I wanted it to be world-class, and so those standards were very high. But even when we had 100%, we said to ourselves that we have to compete against ourselves. Because somebody else is going to look at us and say, I can do better than this company. And so it was very, very important to ask ourselves, how can I improve on what I'm doing? I always ask, is there a better way? Is there an alternative? Is there a substitute to what I'm doing? I don't want somebody else to come and disrupt my business. I would rather disrupt myself. And so in the last 12 years or 13 years we've been in existence, by the time competition came, we were already many years ahead. And then they catch up with us, we're again many years ahead. And then they catch up with us, we're again many years ahead. So what are we saying here? If you want and if you have a big dream and you have a long-term approach towards your dream, you have to be innovative. If you are not innovative, competition will take you out. So we're producing cars, we've invested so much in manufacturing, in machinery, but we also have an aspect of technology, which makes the card and where we actually put applications inside the card. But we say to ourselves, okay, you want a card to do transport, for instance, like an Oyster card or whatever card. I can actually go and use my phone to do it. And so would I want someone else to come up with the idea? No. So at the same time, we have a different line that is digitizing everything that we're doing. So we're actually disrupting ourselves. Let me tell you something about an idea. Obsolescence is built in every idea. An idea is good for a time. But if you're not constantly thinking of how to improve it, that idea is going to go obsolete. And so it's very, very important as women and strong women that I see in this room, that whatever business we're doing, whether we're a startup, or no matter how small we are or how big we are, we need to continue to improve. We need to innovate for success. Whether it's innovating our business models, or whether it's innovating our processes, or whether it's innovating our products, but we need to keep asking ourselves, what you're doing, can somebody else do better? Can somebody else give a better value to your target market?
All right, so as you heard, even before we started, there's no new idea. You have to think about competition in your business. A lot of things to think about in your business we know, from funding and all sorts of things, how to manage your staff. But a lot of people don't actually think about how they're going to innovate their businesses. Now, as a journalist, I tend to be asked, people generally seem to think that I'm an encyclopedia. So whenever people come up to me, sometimes they say to me, especially non-Nigerians, whenever I meet non-Nigerians traveling around, they say to me, where are the opportunities in Nigeria? I think it's just, it's become a question like, how is the weather type thing, it's just what they say. And usually when I'm thinking, you can say all sorts of things. You can say it's in the manufacturing space, but one area that I like to really point out is the health sector, because this is an area where we don't necessarily have to spell it out. We can see that there are gaps in this space. Where we are making progress in a lot of sectors in Nigeria, in the health space, we don't seem to be moving forward. A lot of our experienced doctors are moving out of the country. If I ask how many people trust the medical industry in Nigeria, raise your hands. I'm sure there won't be many hands up, right? And here's Temi. Temi has decided to tackle this industry head on. And she's using innovation and technology. So a lot of people know that Temi's company, LifeBank, if you know a bit about her, you know that they deliver blood to blood banks and hospitals using motorbikes. But what you may not know is she's using emerging technologies like blockchain technology and artificial intelligence to actually do what she's doing. I don't know how she's doing it, but I guess she'll tell us her why and her how. Timmy.
Thank you. So I will start with the problem we discovered. So when I was about 23, I really discovered that a lot of women in Nigeria were dying. And at the time, I had come back from the US as, I was getting my master's, and I came back to Nigeria. And I went to live in northern Nigeria, and I discovered that, women my age at the time were really dying quite a lot in hospitals or in their homes, across northern Nigeria. And it isn't a northern problem. It happens all over Nigeria and all over Africa. So there was a few years later, I found out that the highest cause of maternal mortality is something called postpartum hemorrhage. So a mom gives birth and then she starts bleeding, and within 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and 2 hours, she's dead. So it's a huge problem, and it's not a problem that it's an African problem, it's a global problem. But the difference between women who give birth in Europe and women who give birth in the US and women in developing countries is the health system. How structured it is. Can you get drugs to the woman? Can we get blood to the woman? Can we get oxygen? What about vaccines? What about organs? So that was just the difference, the structure of the health system. And that was a problem I felt like I was called to solve. So I started Life Bank about 3 years ago. Our story of innovation is really interesting. What we're doing is really building really high-tech tools, but developing it and distributing it and getting it out there with low-tech tools. So you can have a blockchain technology, but people use that blockchain technology on a USSD platform, or people use that blockchain technology with SMS, right? But the back end and the brain of the whole system is high-tech. So it's that combination of high and low-tech that has been our innovation in the market, right? So we are a tech company. We are an impact company, we're a healthcare company, and we're a distribution company. So we're a lot of things in one. Since we started 3 years ago, Life Bank has never shut down. We work 24/7, 7 days a week. And our riders are out there on motorbikes. So our innovation, what we did was really we gathered tools that were already present in the market. You know that we've been using motorbikes to move people, to move books, to move supplies, to move makeup and hair for very, very many years, right? And what we did was we said, okay, there's a problem with healthcare, with distribution in healthcare. We already have a low-tech tool in terms of motorbikes. Can we bring those two together? And then can we build some sort of high-tech tool that serves as the brain, that gathers inventory information from blood bank suppliers? We have about 60 of them. Every morning they tell us what stock they have. And at any given time, I know how many pints of blood, how many cylinders of oxygen are available in every community where we work, right? And then we now partner with hospitals, and we say, whenever you need anything, we are the people you come to. You can use a call center that runs 24/7. You can use USSD. You can use, like the star 737 and all those sort of short codes. You can use those short codes to discover what you need. So you can use the short code to discover blood, to discover oxygen. And we're thinking about, okay, SMS, what about a web tool? So we partner with over 250 hospitals in Lagos and Abuja, and we're really we're scaling at the moment and growing to the rest of the country. And in the last 3 years, we've saved 3,000 lives with just an innovation. Thank you. With just an innovation that's very common. So my message is that when you're thinking about innovation, it doesn't have to be really super cool. You don't have to be, of course, nuclear physicists are fantastic, but you can innovate, by just being a boring old, mom from Lagos, right? So you can really innovate and you can build the future. I am obsessed with building the future of healthcare. We think that Nigeria has a chance to be the healthcare sector for the whole of Africa. We think that we will be sort of like the India of healthcare. And, we are all, there are lots of people in this sector, a lot of women, my big boss here is here, a lot of women in this sector really innovating and bringing change to this, to healthcare. And we're the future. So I want every one of you here to sort of commit to solving problems in your community and by innovating. And not thinking that you have to do really high-tech stuff, but by, committing to looking at what's already present, bringing together, and solving problems.
You run 3 businesses, one of which is Greenhouse Lab, and you're a woman who's passionate about promoting women in technology. From your perspective and from your personal experience of working with women in technology, what would you say are the barriers that prevent women from innovating their businesses?
So thank you for that question. As a slight correction, I was with Greenhouse Lab last year, and now I run the consulting company that I've had for about 8 years. And one of the things that I always use to answer this question has to do with my amazing and wonderful father. And I'm going to make the connection for everyone in a minute. So my father had a BlackBerry for a very long time. When everybody had iPhones, my father insisted on keeping his BlackBerry. And we told him, we said, Dad, people are using iPhones and Samsungs now. And he said, there's nothing wrong with my BlackBerry. Leave me alone, right? So we left him alone. The world was moving on. We still had to deal with my dad's BlackBerry. And then one day, he finally got gifted a Samsung. And the rest is history. My father started using a Samsung. Not long after that, somebody gifted him an iPad. Now, that iPad, he would use it only to read the news. That was it. Nothing else. So one day I said to him, I said, Dad, you can stream your music with Apple Music on your iPad. And he said, why would I do that? I have CDs. I like it like that. What's wrong with my CDs? And I said, Daddy, just try it. Try it. So he decided, okay, fine. So we loaded it onto his iPad. He was very reluctant. He said, how much is this thing costing me now? He said, it's okay. You can get any song you want for that amount of money, any song. Now, my father has playlists that are better than mine. At least once a week, he sends us a song that he just discovered on Apple Music. My phone is full, okay? Then, it doesn't end there. My father would call us. And one day we said, Daddy, iPad, you can use it to FaceTime. He said, what's that one again? I said, you enter the person's email or phone number and you just press it and you can see the person's face. Why do I need to see your face? I'm calling you, I can hear your voice. It sounds complicated. Well, one day, I think one of us, I don't know if it was me or my sister, we went there and we showed him how to use it because we wanted to talk to my brother who wasn't around at the time. All I can say is now my father does not make regular phone calls again. We have to look at him in the eyes. He wants to look inside our eyes. He doesn't care what time. Sometimes we're driving, we're like that, we're driving. Okay, FaceTime me when you get to where you're going. No, I will call you. So why do I share this? I think sometimes the adoption of technology really has to do with our mindsets. And I think someone said it earlier about how even as a business, sometimes we are reluctant and we're overwhelmed and maybe a little bit fearful about using technology, right? And what I always like to say to businesses is that just start small. Start small. It's the mindset issue, right? And so the first thing I always say to businesses, other than starting small, is that you have to also be honest with yourself about what's working well in your business and what's not working well. And then be open-minded enough to think of using technology as a means to simplify your life and your business and to make it more efficient, because that's really what technology is for. And so if you're running a business, let's say, and you're still doing manual payroll, for example, right? If you're doing your payroll manually, we know that's going to be prone to a lot of, human error. And so then we say, if you admit to yourself that this could be easier, so you know that it's an issue. It takes you days, maybe a week to even complete payroll. So that's valuable manpower that you're using up. So if you're able to be honest with yourself and you say, I could use this time in a different way, I could be more efficient with my business. So it's that awareness. And then the open-mindedness that comes to say, so then what technology exists out there that I can look into that would help me to better do this task? And as you mentioned, some of it doesn't have to be complicated. Some of it is already on the shelf, right? So sometimes, I think startups and small businesses become very overwhelmed and say, oh, that technology is going to be so expensive, just like my father, or I don't know, why do I need it? Why do I need to use it? I like how I'm doing it. And it's not till you now decide to just try one little thing, and you say, wow, look at the difference it's making. All of a sudden, my father doesn't have to drag his CDs up and down, right? He doesn't have to, use his BlackBerry that was ancient. He can now use the iPhone for many things. And so the same thing goes for businesses is we have to address the issue of mindset. And as women, sometimes, and I always want to believe that we're all on equal footing, but I'll speak for myself, that sometimes we tend to be a little bit reluctant with technology, right? So I know my mother till today, if you ask her to turn on something, she'll go and call one of the children to come and do it, right? So we can sometimes be reluctant, but when it's our business, we have to be committed to exploring technological advances and solutions in order to drive our businesses.
All right. Thank you, Tosin. I think if there's one thing that I've gathered from the four of you, innovation in many ways comes with experimentation. And sometimes when you're trying something or experimenting, you pretty much have to be willing in some way to fail. That, to me, that's all, what it's really about. And nobody really wants to fail in their businesses. And if you have a business that's already succeeding and you're doing this, you have your processes that you're following, sometimes it's very difficult to communicate a case for innovation. And also sometimes what makes you competitive, what gives you competitive advantage in one environment could be the thing that hinders you when you move into another environment. I'm sure you understand me. Kofo, I would just like you to perhaps point out what is the best way to communicate the case to the female entrepreneurs in the room for innovation? The case for innovation. The best way to communicate the case for innovation.
Well, first of all, it's very important that when you have an idea, whether as a startup or so, you need to have knowledge. You need to understand your ecosystem very well. And you need to continuously do your research as to what you're doing. The other thing about mindset is to say to yourself, where would this idea be in another 5 years? And so if I ask the entrepreneurs in this room, do you have a 5-year plan? This is something that we should do, because in creating your 5-year plan, you've taken into consideration so many things. You've taken into consideration the environment, the industry that you're in, the market size, the value that idea is bringing, the consumer, what the consumer wants, because consumer expectations is getting more and more sophisticated. And so everything is changing. So what I would say is that for entrepreneurs, having an open mindset, that's for sure, having a long-term plan, and actually continuously and constantly researching, have knowledge about what you're doing, and always look at how can I do it better? And the minute you constantly do that, for instance, in Secure ID, we have a very powerful team in innovation. They are not the ones that come up with all the ideas, but they galvanize everybody to come up with ideas. And some of the ideas that we have dealt with and have been successful, that person is actually rewarded for it. So you also need to have an environment within your company that enables and empowers people to come up with new ways of doing things.
Thank you very much. Now, it's very difficult to have this panel without linking it to the previous panel, because like one of the panelists said earlier on, it really is all about cash in the end. If you have cash, then maybe you can innovate your businesses. There's something that Kofo said. I read that you said this, and I do hope that it is, these are your words, because there's a lot of fake news out there. Kofo, you said it's a trust that the funds will always come once you have a good plan and a good concept and you work through it. the funds will always come. And I think that funding and funds are the elephant in the room, because the fact is that in Nigeria, in many cases, the funds do not always come. And I guess many people might ask the question, how do you innovate in an environment that is not supporting innovation? Temi, I want you to take this question because your startup is one that has been able to raise seed capital. And that has very much helped you in innovating. So tell us that story of funding and innovation.
So I think first, let's get the facts. So I got some facts here. I'm going to read it out. For every dollar of funding women-led startups generate, they generate 78 cents in return. So if you invest $1 in a women-led startup, you're going to get $1.78. For a man, it's 31 cents. Okay? Right? Okay. I got more. Venture-backed women-led firms bring at least 12% higher returns for investors. African companies that add women to their teams increase revenue by 36%. So we know women are, a key to innovating and to changing, our community. And we know that women get returns, When we bring the money, right? When someone backs us and backs us really well, we bring back returns, right? So so I think a lot of times, and one more fact that would set the table for what I want to say, Black women are the fastest growing entrepreneurs in the world. So we're already innovating, we're already starting stuff, we're already really looking at our community and thinking forward. And I think that there's a sort of disconnection between starting small and growing large, right? And I think the key for fast growth, and the key for scaling is that revenue. Is sort of investment, capital, right? Capital is key. And a lot of times, and I think we've not passed that message that women are rainmaker. And that, when we're talking to VC firms, when we're talking to, PE firms, we're not talking about bringing the cash in. And I think we need to go to these folks with confidence. I'm not entering your office to beg for money. It's not about impact. Impact is important, right? But I know that I'm going to give you returns. And I'm entering that, that room with that confidence. And I think we all need to have that. We should know we have what it takes. We should know that we can innovate, and we should know we can build big businesses. I like to say on my social media that LifeBank is going to list at the London Stock Exchange in a few years, so watch out.
Patricia?
So I think innovation is all part of that. And I think innovation and confidence and continue building new tools and moving things forward, I think that's really key. And to be honest, I think we're already doing that, right? So it's a very hard thing to sort of encourage. We're already innovating. What we're not doing is having that confidence to get in that room, ask for the capital we need to build big businesses and get it. So I think that would be the key.
Tosin, I see you nodding. Would you like to add to that?
Absolutely. Women-led businesses, startups, I think as of last year, we were still getting less than 2.5% of venture capital dollars. And the reason for this are multiple-fold, but I think one of the biggest issues has to do with two things. There is a lack of confidence, and that has to do, in a way, with and it's a mixture. Sometimes I think we as women also need to know everything about our business, the numbers, the ins and outs, upside down, right side up, backwards and forwards, right? Because what happens is that when we get into the room with these investors, they're going to make us prove ourselves, okay, about 10 times more than our male counterparts. That's just the truth. Many studies have been done, including one through the Boston Consulting Group that shows that implicit bias plays a huge role into the kinds of money that women-led businesses get. And so you walk into the room, and whether the men, because it's a male-dominated space, funding is, VC is, and whether they tell you or not, they think things such as, oh, what happens if she gets pregnant? What will happen to the company? Or where is the person that builds the technology? Is the person here, even though it's the woman that built the technology, right? But those biases are constantly playing out. And so we as women, we have to figure out how to, one, come from a place of confidence, but then two, also be able to justify that confidence because we know our stuff. And so when we walk in that room, we're ready for anything. And then that, what we're asking for, we can then get. But I think it's very important that we talk about this, lack of confidence issue.
There's one final point I'll touch on. It's also interesting to note that sometimes when you're innovating, the market or the industry isn't also ready for your innovation, and they start to frustrate you because you're actually doing something that's completely different. I wonder, Patricia, given that you've worked across a range of sectors, are there any industry-specific challenges that you have faced because of the fact that you are innovating and the fact that your products and services are different from the norm?
I will talk more about transportation because it was very hard to convince even the husband to accept that the woman become driver. This was the first challenge. Even when I was working with the big company, because we have like the big NGO, like client, one of the I will not give the name, but one of the bigger organization in Congo, the MD told me, Patricia, forget about women, just to put men, because I think there is a big gap, a big problem about mindset to see women start something new, women to innovate. But like I love to say to all the women I coach, you really need to be focused in the future, not just now. Because if I was following what people was telling me when I started, I would not be where we are today, So innovation will, not all people, even in the family, when that you want, your father say, I want you to become doctor and you want to do business, they'll say, no, don't go on this way because we don't know if it will work. So I think innovation need more than confidence. Like I love to say, confidence has no competition. When you are confident about your product, even if it will be hard and people will be be careful to go on this way, because when you innovate, you put a lot of money. And the bank, to be honest, the bank, they don't follow you when you innovate. The bank came after when you innovate, and so we really need also to innovate, to know our target, also the environment, not just to wake up to say, I want to innovate. This is the first thing. The second thing is like, when you innovate, try to have another source of income, because it's not easy. All the time, I can see the startup, they wake up and say, no, I want to innovate, I want to launch the things. But you need to think, when I will launch, I have salary to pay. I have rent, the house or the office I need to pay. If I innovate, I need to have another source of income will help me to be focused on the product that I want to innovate. So that even when it will take time, you will have something to help you to go far and to be focused on the objective and on the goal that you want to.
Thank you very much, Patricia. I think that's very important, actually, that sometimes when you're innovating, you have to think about your own finances as well and, have a source of income, have another way that you're making money, and then you can innovate. So that's a very good point. Perhaps in closing, and we will bring in the audience, but I'd just like, the three of you, starting with you, Tosin, perhaps you could say one thing, one step that the female entrepreneurs in the room should be doing in the walk towards innovation or in innovating their products. What is the first thing that they should probably do when they leave this room? Tosin.
So what I would like to say for the women in the room is that, and it might sound a little bit harsh, but if you are not innovating within your business is actually dying. And I mean that. I mean that because we are now at a time where technology is not the future, technology is here, it's now. So if you're not already thinking or incorporating how to use technology in your business will not survive. And I'm saying that with a lot of confidence because I've seen it happen over and over again. But there's good news. And the good news is that technology does not have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be an overwhelming undertaking. It could be as simple as utilizing an off-the-shelf product, like I said before. It could be as simple as using something like Slack. Slack is a communication tool that allows you to keep all of your staff informed. They can discuss, upload files. No, it's not WhatsApp, Because on WhatsApp, you're going to be mixed up with people like my mom who send you all kinds of forwards about different things and plastic rice and such and such. So you don't want that. So you go into Slack where you can focus on your business. Payroll tools, DocuSign, these things actually are free. Okay, at some level, if you have just a small number of people using it, it's free. So again, that's why I said the biggest issue here, before we even talk about financing as an obstacle, is just mindset. Is saying, listen, I need to learn how to use technology to survive, because what got me here, where I've been able to survive, is not what's going to get me to where I need to thrive. And so where you need to thrive, you're going to need technology. And so I hope that we'll start to explore simple adoptions of technology. Cheap, affordable, there are many out there. I can give you a long list. And from then on, I think like my father, you'll start to get addicted to it, and then you won't be able to imagine your business without it. That's really what I hope.
All right, Tammy, one step that the ladies here should take.
Look to the problems, right? I think on the other side of problems, smart, innovative, elegant business models that bring financial returns and impact. So when you see a problem, when you're walking down the street, when you're driving home, look to the problems, and that's your path to innovating.
And Kofo, finally.
Yeah, I mean, I think just what I said before is to master the trends in your markets. Read the trends in your industry. Wherever you are, just read the trends. Know where it's going. Be proactive in every way. Read your consumer or your clientele base, what they like. Look at the value that you're adding, and ensure that you always ask yourself, how can I do what I'm doing better? In terms of funding, just to key in on that, yes, funding does follow a good, well-run business. And you don't have to be making so much money to have a well-run business. You know, I've been on a board where we were looking at revenue of ₦1 million for the year. And yet they had financial statements, profit and loss, cash flow, balance sheet. For me, that's a good company to partner with because they are starting well. They're putting that structure in place. And a lot of people looking to invest in startups or smaller companies are looking at that. They're not looking as to how quickly, how much money are you making, but how long will this business last? So, in closing, read the trends in your industry.
Fantastic. Do we have any comments or questions in the audience?
All right,
Where
so
are
we're
the
just going to
ushers?
take 3 questions. We'll just take 3 questions.
I can see a couple of hands raised up. All right. Kindly introduce yourself and state your comment or your question, but keep it brief. Thank you.
So, ushers, we'll just take one from each section. So, from the left, the middle, and then the far right. Okay?
Hi, everybody. My name is Amaka, and I'm a jeweler. I make jewelry. So I have a question in regards to innovation. So I have a website, and there's this issue I have with some of my customers. They will go to the website, take screenshots of the products, and send me a WhatsApp message or a message on Instagram instead of them to shop directly from the website. So my question is, how do I sensitize my customers or encourage them to make use of this innovation that I have? Because it's costing me money to have that website every month.
I think I'll just repeat that in case you didn't hear that. She has a website, and she's selling products on her website. And what a lot of her customers are doing is they're going on the website, they're taking pictures of her products, and then sending her messages on WhatsApp instead of actually using the technology on the website to actually, go through the payment process and, the delivery process. So she's saying, how do we encourage, people to actually make use? So, in other words, she's innovating her business, but the market is not responding to the innovation. Who would like to take that?
Well, I guess I could take that. So I think that you have to meet your people where they are, right? I think that's key. You have to meet your customer where they are. And a lot of times our customers are still, people in this market love WhatsApp, which is good. And you have to meet them where they are. But at the same time, you have to look at what are they coming to do on WhatsApp. They want to chat with you. They want to have a conversation with you. They want you to hold their hands through the process. So can you build that on the website where they're getting what they want on the platform you choose? That's what I would say.
All right. Anyone else?
All right, just 2 more questions, please. All right, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Chine. I head the Business Development Unit at Black and Precious Communications. So my question is directed to Kofo. First things first. From what I understand, I know your business is more like B2B. And I just want a simple explanation on what you did, the direct steps you took when you started. I understand that we have to, be consistent, not give up. I understand that. But when you were in that room all by yourself, what were the exact steps you took that led to your expansion? And then secondly...
Sorry, just one question, please.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
That's actually an interesting one, actually, because a lot of times when we see, women like these, who've been successful and they're telling their story and thinking, yeah, but how did they really start? Like, I want the truth. How did they really start? And so this lady is asking, what are the direct steps or some of the steps that you took initially when you started off the business?
Okay. Now, when you have an idea, that idea becomes a vision, right? From the vision, you probably have your business plan. From the business plan, you need people, so you align the vision, you align the people to your vision. Now, execution is where the problem is. And I always say to a lot of entrepreneurs that execution is a graveyard of a lot of CEOs or founders of companies. Because you have a good idea, but to execute it is an issue, because there are a lot of problems. Trust me, there are a lot of issues that I face. Manufacturing comes with its own issues. Technology comes with its own issue. The thing is that I started with the end in mind. My focus was always on the end goal. But I knew that I may not achieve it from day one. So one thing that I mastered in doing is doing things phase by phase. And I do the first phase, I see some success, it encourages, and of course with divine revelation and so on, you're able to move on and you're encouraged with it. So yes, the thing is to be resilient and not to allow the issues around you to stop you from getting to your goal. I mean, when we wanted to start manufacturing, we had to build our own water treatment plant because the machines have to work with pure water. We have to be on 24/7 power. We have 7 generators. So, I mean, all of these add to your cost. So if I'm bidding for a job in wherever, okay, and I'm competing with another company in Germany or France that do not have these same issues, my cost and my price is likely to be higher, right? So yeah, so there are a lot of issues, but the point is, no matter what, see your business. Sometimes I see it as a ministry. I see it as creating jobs for people. I see it as that we're adding value. I mean, before we started, a lot of the things we're doing were imported. 90% of our raw materials are still imported as we speak. So the next stage is, how can one backward integrate? Why can't these raw materials be made by Nigerians here? Okay, so the things that come to mind is, one, you have the idea, you have a good plan, you have to align your people to your plan. They have to buy into your vision so that it's easier for you to move forward. And then you have to execute in such a strategic and logical way, and keep faithful to the steps that you have drawn up for yourself, and don't give up.
And Tosin, you wanted to say something very quickly as well?
Very quickly, I was still turning over the question that the lady asked earlier about her customers not adopting the website. And I wanted to say first, don't feel bad, because I think even WhatsApp is very aware of this issue, because they're currently working on a innovation that's going to allow direct payments through WhatsApp. So they understand that this is happening in certain economies, and so that's the good news. And then second of all, I think the question you might want to ask yourself is why you want your customers to use the website. Is it because you are trying to streamline your business? Is it because you're trying to create a convenience on your end or for your customer? Whatever the answer is, perhaps something that you might look into is an incentive that allows them to look at the website. So for example, you can say, if you order from my website, you'll get 10% off the price. That's just an idea. That's just an idea. Or free delivery if you use the website or something like that. So we can talk some more, but I'm just ideating, because all of this is about ideation. But again, there continues to be, in general, sort of high barriers around e-commerce in countries such as Nigeria. So don't feel bad. We're still catching up. But continue to do what you're doing and just continue to think about innovative ways like we're doing right now as I'm talking to you to make sure that you're using technology.
Thanks for that. Tosin, do we have time for one more question?
Just one more question, very quickly.
All right, one more.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name
Introduce
is
yourself, please. We can hear you.
Okay,
I'm
all right.
Temitope Akeju. I run a fashion and event center. Here. To your left. Hello.
Far right.
All right, 1 second. Yeah. I can see two people standing up. So, but I think she stood up first. I saw her first. So I'll let her ask a question. And then hopefully my very kind MC will allow you to ask yours. But it has to be a very, very quick question or comment for our panelists. Very, very quick. All right, the lady in pink.
Okay. Thank you so much.
I'm Blossom Chuku.
Hello? The lady in pink.
Good evening, I'm Blossom Chuku. My question is on digital marketing. I run a nation-building project that focuses on blogging and a lot of work on the digital space. But I have an issue with interest. I see technology as mathematics. And when I was younger, I always shied away from mathematics. And now I kind of
You raise your voice a bit?
Yes, I have a challenge with taking technology headlong, because even though it's beneficial to my business, I'll prefer to pay somebody to offer me that service. But my partner, who is also my husband, has been insisting on me giving it my own full attention, but I think I don't really have that much interest. So how do I balance the equation?
I think I can quickly say to you that, you're innovating. As we said, innovating is not only about technology. If you want to outsource that technology to somebody else to do it for you, and you can afford to do that, then you're still innovating, right? All right, let's get a question from over here.
I'm sorry, we are unfortunately out of time. We're
my MC, I promised her.
We're stretched for time, but if you want to have a networking session, you can ask these questions later. I'm really, really sorry.
All right.
We're really pushed for time,
Ladies,
okay?
there's a lot of
All right,
opportunity in the network session to speak to our panelists and also the panelists in the session before. Thank you very much for your attention, and thank you very much to our panelists for your insight.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands again, once again, for the wonderful panelists. And could you guys all please just stand for a picture? Thank you. All right, thank you. And please note that the networking sessions do continue, so don't necessarily feel that it's limited to just you asking questions. You can engage the panelists once you see them. And while that is happening, please also note that we have a room to the left of where I am now, to my left, to your right, and we are going to be giving out information around loans, insurance, general questions about registering your business, questions about tax, and then opening your business account. So that's happening in the exhibition hall to my left, okay? So please, when you have an opportunity, go there, bombard the individuals with as much questions as possible, and you'll be answered. All right, so please put your hands together once again for our wonderful panelists. Thank you so much. Really, really enjoyed that. So we're now going to move on to the next section. I'd like to ask Aderonke to come up, and she will now take on the next part. So thank you once again, and please, when this is over or towards the end, make sure you visit the exhibition hall. Thank you, guys.
Not to waste any more time, I'm just going to reiterate that just you're right, Waji just said, there is a banking hall, a pretty dynamic banking hall. If you have questions about registering your business, if you have questions about taking out a loan that you've heard about today, if you have questions about tax, or if you have questions about opening a business account, all of those questions can be answered just right next door. So please take advantage of that at some point today. As you do know, we have an after party. Woohoo! All right. But just to take us further, we're almost at the end of this session, and then we're going to move on to the banking hall and the after party. I'm going to call on the Managing Director for WAPIC Insurance, Adeyinka Adekoya, to just kind of share some information with us. So please welcome her as she comes. A round of applause, please, as she comes. Are we tired? All right. Oh, you are? Don't worry, we're almost done.
Adeyinka, they're women, man. They never get tired. Never.
Good evening, ladies and esteemed guests. First, I would like to thank the board and management of Access Bank and Diamond Bank, respectively, for giving WAPIC an opportunity to speak at this platform. I dare say the subject of insurance is probably the least understood by the average Nigerian, and therefore possibly one of that generates the least interest and appreciation. It is my hope, therefore, that by the end of this presentation, I will have succeeded in moving you off from your current insurance appreciation to another level, or to the next level, as we say it these days. So let us start with the basic. What is insurance? Insurance is a means of protection from unanticipated and unintended financial loss. It is a product you buy when you least need, and it is a product that comes to your aid when you least expect it. A person or an entity who buys insurance is insured or a policy holder. An insurance transaction involves insurer assuming a risk of the likelihood of an event occurring with a promise to compensate the insured in the event of a covered loss, in consideration for a relatively small payment in form of premium. The amount you pay in premium is a minute form of what we call your sum insured. So if you look at it, it's very, very insignificant to the amount you pay to an insurance company when the loss actually occurs. So how is insurance promoting prosperity? If truly we understand insurance, we will realize that it is all about promoting prosperity. According to the World Bank and IFC, the mission is to end extreme poverty and promote shared prosperity, and the journey out of poverty is never easy. But when personal and natural disasters strike, it can be a major setback. They have therefore opined that the access to financial services, including insurance, has an essential role to play in achieving the goal of ending poverty. The penetration of insurance measured by premium is extremely low in Nigeria currently, and the penetration is less than 1%, and it contributes just about 3% to the total economy's GDP. This suggests strong growth potential, particularly in countries such as Nigeria, and women are key to increasing the penetration of insurance as they have less financial protection than men. So what are the challenges working for women in the informal sector? The potential and need for the adoption of insurance by women is clear, but there has not yet been widespread adoption of strategic approach towards increasing women's acquisition of insurance. This is partly because particularly circumstances many women face. In many cases, insurance is provided by employers and is not tailored to the needs of women. To add to this problem, in both developed and emerging markets, women are more likely to be engaged in part-time or even unpaid work. In a report by the Chartered Insurance Institute of London recently, insuring women features called risk exposure and resilience to risk in Britain today. Even in the UK, 42% of women work part-time compared to 13% of men. In emerging markets, women are overly represented in the informal sector with no employer in the traditional sense. So as most insured have policies through the employers, how will women now get insurance? Nevertheless, although women's market may be huge, it is anything but standardized. Women's needs and preferences differ in several ways by socio-economic brackets, their dependence and income status. Because they play many-sided roles in their homes and beyond, women have little time to think about their insurance needs. which is why I want to highlight the fact that women should become more aware of insurance and increasingly willing to spend on insurance, particularly those in the informal sector. Women in the formal sector are increasingly becoming leading players in the workforce, and in light of increasing financial contributions to their household. Women are having more bargaining and spending power, which means as women need to be more willing to spend on insurance to cater for unforeseen risk. If armed robbers enter your house today, the first thing they ask a woman, where are your jewelries? Imagine how many years it takes you to accumulate those jewelries. Have you insured them? Or do you just keep them inside a box and hope and continue to pray that nothing will happen to them? With greater income, women may have household bargaining power. As contributors to household decisions, women spend differently than men. Women are increasingly heading up household as sole providers, which means it is very important that women should start making insurance purchase decisions for their families. We all know that women are willing to pay for peace of mind. In general, women are more risk-aware than men and are willing to spend to protect themselves and their families against all kinds of risk. So while we have some form of protection for immediate risk, such as having security guard in our homes and burglary proofs, it is important to protect the future by purchasing an insurance product. We all know that women act as conduits to the family. When women take up responsibility of handling the insurance needs of everyone in the family is protected, and from their spouses to their children and even parents. The relevant products to consider include house owners insurance, householders insurance for those who are in rented apartments, fire and burglary for factories, theft insurance, motor insurance for all vehicles as well as life insurance. I will also very briefly touch on the subject life insurance and some benefits for women. As mentioned earlier, women have become increasingly dominant players in today's formal sector. Some women have even become the sole breadwinners of their families. As such, she'll be looking at financial security a life insurance policy can provide. But will you be surprised to learn the uptake of life insurance amongst women is still very extremely low. Whether a woman has an executive position or is a stay-at-home mom, life insurance is important to protect, is an important protection to have for the family. This highlights just a few top benefits for women who have life insurance. For women with a family, especially those who are the primary breadwinner, they are constantly worried about how family are taken care of financially should they die suddenly. We don't pray for anybody to die. We all want to go to heaven, but we don't want to die. But deaths actually do happen when people are still very young. So while we do not need to stress on death, this is inevitable. And the life insurance policy can give peace of mind knowing that family financial needs will be taken care of and financial obligations met. The role of caregiver is familiar to many women. As you begin to approach middle age, you may have other family members to care for. You can have security of knowing their care will continue after you are gone by adding them as beneficiary to your life insurance policy. Moreover, because life insurance is a unique product, the sooner you purchase a life insurance policy, the better. If you buy a policy when you are young, the rates will be lower, and if you wait till you are in middle age or senior, you will pay more. What other insurance product of great importance is that which caters for education of children. We are all very interested in ensuring that our children are educated. This product is an insurance solution that provides you the opportunity to save funds toward financing your child's education and embedded insurance protection against risk of demise. So if the parent dies while the child is still in school, the insurance company, WAPIC Insurance, will take over the payment of the child's school fees. The policy is written in the name of the child and the beneficiary as the beneficiary and the policyholder. Provides medical expense for the child because of accident while in school. In addition, even more interestingly, cash benefit to your child should he or she be best in class. We all know that demise of a parent or sponsor is a tragic event which adversely affects the education and future financial security of a child. Not putting adequate plan in place to hedge against the risk could present a circumstance that is too hard to handle. WAPIC Smart Scholar Plan is a means of transferring the risk to WAPIC. It ensures your child is protected financially and their education is guaranteed. That ultimately gives you rest of mind. Tackling the challenge of insuring more women. So how then do we address the issue of more women, insuring more women? That's why the business opportunities, some of the challenges I have outlined in my introduction may seem unsurmountable. But however, there are practical steps that we as insurance companies have begun to undertake to open the market by addressing the women's needs. As insurers, we will continually provide solution-oriented products tailored towards the need of women specifically. We know that a huge chunk of our current insurance products probably designed with unisex in mind. We may fall short of women's expectations to mitigate risk. WAPIC is addressing this by having a better understanding of women's financial and health concerns and equipping them with tools to prevent or mitigate risk. Our standardized sales advisors are trained as subject experts for tailored services unique to individual needs. This is also a clarion call on women influencers to increase their community knowledge and use of insurance by enhancing the market's overall trust level. Partnerships with other stakeholders, government, schools, hospitals, non-profit churches, and mosques can help educate consumers about risk and protection. I would like to round up by emphasizing that important role that women have in the uptake of insurance for their families. It is important to think beyond the present and act responsibly by thinking of the future. In WAPIC Insurance, we are changing the game of insurance, and this change is evident in our vision, which is to transform and illuminate the insurance industry for the benefits of our customers and other stakeholders. WAPIC is transforming the persecution of insurance, thereby increasing the uptake of insurance. We have tailored products to meet your needs as men, both for the general family needs and the education of children. And inside this also, we have some sales advisors who are on hand to speak to you if you require more information on any of our insurance products. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands once again together for the Managing Director of WAPIC Insurance, Mrs. Adeyinka Adekoya. You guys having a good time? Have you had a good time? Have you enjoyed yourselves? Are you still tired? No, you're not. It was like all 6 of you that said you're tired. Guys, thank you. You have been absolutely amazing today, man. You guys absolutely rock. So it's true that girls run the world, huh? Who runs the world? Who runs the world? You absolutely do. You guys have been amazing. Please give yourselves a round of applause, yeah? All right, fantastic. We're going to wrap up now. We're going to have some closing remarks from the head of women banking, Ada Udechukwu of Access Bank, to please just come and give some quick closing remarks.
Good evening, everyone. Oh, sorry, good afternoon, everyone. Okay, I'm so happy to be here to thank everyone for being beautiful participants. I would like us to stand up and give ourselves a round of applause for our awesome participation. Let's celebrate ourselves. International Women's Day is about celebrating the achievements of women. Let's stand up and give ourselves a round of applause. It's not loud enough. Celebrate yourselves. Celebrate yourselves, women. Thank you. I like the energy in the room. Thank you so much for staying with us through this carefully curated conference. We've heard a lot, from the discussions, the paper presentations on innovation, leveraging finance for your business. I really believe, and I do hope that we all took away something that will help us improve our businesses, our lives, our careers, whatever it is our life's endeavor is. I really do hope that we're all able to take something. If we're not able to take something out of this conference, please meet me at the end of the session. Okay, so I'm believing I will not see anybody at the end of the session because we all got something out of it. Just to wrap up with a few key thoughts that were shared during the conference. We talked about leveraging finance for your business. I'd just like to share briefly on the W Power loan that Access Bank has brought into the market. As women in business, you can access the W Power loan at a discounted rate. And for those who want to access the loan for up to 20 million naira, you get it with no collateral at all. All you need is someone who believes in your business to sign off as a guarantor, and you're good to go. Do you like that? Do we deserve a round of applause? Thank you. So that's on the W Power loan. It's focused on 8 key sectors. There's more information that you can get out there from our colleagues in the banking hall. A few people talked about doing their business on the WhatsApp platform. I'm happy to tell you that Access Bank is the first bank globally to introduce what is called the WhatsApp banking. On this platform, you can carry out banking transactions seamlessly. So if you do your business on that platform, payment will be seamless at no cost to you. How about that on innovation? So meet our colleagues out there. They'll give you information on all of that. But one thing I would also like to leave us with, before we all step out of this room to lunch, and of course come back to the party for something light. I would just like to remind us of the critical role that we play as women. I drew something from the Hear Word session that happened. And the woman rounded up by saying that we all have a role to play in ensuring that the women in our communities thrive. The community breaks down when no one takes action. So I would like to implore all of us, encourage all of us to look within your communities. There's something that you can give, either through your business or personally. Please find something that you can do for your community. Find something that you can give from your business, to ensure that the lives around you are bettered just because you exist. I'd like to congratulate everyone on an awesome session. And I do hope that for those of us who were not already banking with us at either Diamond or Access Bank, you already realize that you may be missing out something if you don't quickly correct that before leaving today. The W initiative is Access Bank's home for everything that we have to offer women. It's a unique platform that you can all get on to thrive, to optimize your potentials as women. There's a lot that we have to offer, from mentoring. We've seen the videos from mentoring, business support, capacity building programs, access to markets, and access to finance. I congratulate all of us once again. Thank you for coming to the International Women's Day Conference, organized by Access Bank and Diamond Bank. We look forward to hosting you again next year at this same conference. Thank you.
A round of applause for Ada Udechukwu, Head of Women Banking, Access Bank. We have come to the end of what I believe has been an amazing time. Yes? Yes. Like Ada said, thank you so much for coming out. I'm sure you are going back, like we said at the top of this, as a different person, a changed businesswoman.
Inspired businesswoman.
Empowered.
And also one that is connected.
Absolutely. And as she mentioned, just to my left, which is your right, there's a banking hall, information on loans, taxes, opening a business account. Everything you need to know is right on this side of the hall.
And also in that room, CAC and FIRS are in that room as well, so you will get authentic information concerning opening businesses, registering businesses, and also the tax implications you need for your business structure.
And then to this side of the hall, there will be refreshments and dinner served. So maximize your time, work the room on either side, but also, as she said, come back for the after party because there will be something light in the room. So make sure you come back. It's going to be amazing. Thank you once again for coming out. My name is Aderonke Adebanjo.
And my name is Waji Jubuno, and I would like to just thank our wonderful MC, Aderonke. You can find her
Likewise.
on Aderonke Media on all social media platforms. She has been absolutely amazing.
And he's the corporate MC with a K on all social media platforms as well. So check him out. Right. Thank you again. Have a great evening, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Please keep your valuables safe. Enjoy dinner. Get back to your respective locations safely. And we will see you back here for something light in a couple of hours or in an hour or so. Enjoy your evening.
I want to reiterate, please